just Lieutenant Dance? I can't get enough of that. That man. I guess everyone has the right to say the stupidest thing that comes to mind. That includes Lieutenant Dan. So let's put Lieutenant Dan in our thoughts and prayers. Hopefully he makes less stupid ideas. Yeah. Well, hello and welcome to Raider HQ After Dark, the live stream event. Oh, I know you can hear me. I know you can hear me. That's the fun part about it, is that you can hear me. And I mean what I say. Lieutenant Dan does suck. So how is everybody tonight? Let's get a temperature, a read of the room, as we shall, of all 44 of you wonderful, wonderful veterans, veteran supporters, and just general good people. And let's just see how everybody's doing tonight. Jason, you watch yourself. You're getting a little handsy here with the fatty liver starting out. You know, you're getting a little in there. Okay, you don't want to start out like that. How's everybody doing? So tonight's live stream, we're going to be talking about some things. First and foremost, this was supposed to be Luna's live stream, but Luna has decided that she must take another nap. So unfortunately, Luna will not be joining us on camera for this live stream. I know that she put out that it was her live stream tonight, but she's going to pass. She's going to pass tonight. I took this today. So this is a picture of her today. She's a lot bigger than, and she sits in the front seat, and it's very, very challenging to drive whenever I have to drive. So I'm going to be taking drinks of water. I'm my throat is parched today. And oh, that was her saying, look, we've been outside the house for 5 seconds. We need to go back home. There's a nap that needs to be had. So tonight, what's on the table? Well, I want to talk about the push for 10K before New Year's. We are currently at, let me look here. Actually, I haven't looked today. We are at 9,211 subscribers, which means that honestly, we could get to 10,000 before the end of the year, which would just blow my mind. The fact that we're at 9,000. The fact that I'm above 10 subscribers makes me over the moon. So, you know, if you're watching and you haven't liked and subscribed, please like and subscribe. We are trying to get the message out there, because do I get everything right all the time? No, I am a human being. Do I put out information for the grand purpose of trying to educate the veteran community to be able to overcome obstacles within their power? Yes, that's the purpose of the video. That's the purpose of the live streams. That's the purpose of everything, is to make sure that we end up making it to where this isn't all just smoke and mirror shadow game type nonsense, to where it's like, oh man, you're denied because you didn't know about the widget over here that you had to do, you know, type thing. And it just frustrates me to no end, because I'm like, why is there this big secret? Why can't we just have everybody, you know, because doctors determine this. Doctors determine the outcome. If doctors determine that your thing is related to service, then your thing is related to service. We shouldn't be able to, you know, oh, you're denied because of a technicality. Well, I'm going to educate you about the technicalities, and I'm going to do that tonight too. Because there are some procedural technicalities that you as the veteran can utilize in your favor. And we'll talk about that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Disrobed crown. You need to, oh, you got me. Okay. Okay. All right. It's on the list of things to talk about. So we won't go here yet. We won't go here yet. Okay. We won't. We're going to pace ourselves. Blood pressure meds and all. We're going to pace ourselves. So one of the things that, I was talking about just a few seconds ago was that, the channel, this is more of a TED Talky type channel. This is an education process. The videos are meant for that purpose. They're not meant to be overly entertaining. They're not meant to, like you could probably put them next to paint dry and the paint would probably dry faster. Okay. Because it's kind of boring stuff. It can be dry at times. But that's the nature of the channel. Now, I will say, before I get into that, we are doing a Christmas live stream. I haven't fully set the time, but I'm just doing a live stream. You guys don't have to show up. It's just to be there so that way if veterans need to talk to somebody, I'm here, right? Like it's not it's not like me trying to virtue signal or something like that, but it's just like it's nice. I used to, whenever I worked at the VHA, we'd go out and we'd try to find veterans and make sure they got connected with people and whatnot. And if you're not connected with anybody, then you can be connected with me. So, thank you for putting. I need to. Okay, Mike makes a good point here. I have to do some housekeeping. I've got to add thing. I got to make different playlists and whatnot, and I've got to add those together. So, I've got some work ahead of me. Probably tomorrow to do some of that. Like I said, this is kind of a hobby. But then I also wanted to kind of talk about a little bit of clarification. Okay. I need you all to understand that this is not like Highlander, where there can be only one channel, one to rule them all. Like I don't know. It doesn't have to be that way. And I've tried to. I hope that people don't unsubscribe to people just because I have a different channel than them. Because the only ones that I am upset about right now are the ones that are blatantly lying to manipulate veterans into further watching their videos. Like, I just put stuff out there. I don't put, like, let me tell you, plantar fasciitis did not make people pass out with just, oh my God, it's so hot. Oh, wow. Like, I didn't score top 10. I didn't win the internet that day whenever I put out plantar fasciitis. Okay. So I just put out the videos, and if people like them, they like them. If they don't, they don't. But the information's out there, right? Like I want to make sure. Doc Shelley, never trust the VA. We need a shirt that says just never trust the VA. And we'll just call it Doc Shelley says never trust the VA. But I'm kind of just wanting to clarify. Clickbait's fine. Right? Like I guess clickbait's fine if they fool you into watching them, but they actually put out good material, then the clickbait is fine in my opinion. Right? It's kind of like if you want to be successful, some people have to clickbait. I don't do it, but then again, I'm not 100,000K channel. I'm not I'm not making the money. Nobody, like the guy that did the fear bait thing. His channel has more views than mine. But oh my gosh, Doc, you're killing me. You are killing me, okay? Yeah, I mean, but I just want to point that out there because I'm not trying to upset YouTube. I don't want to start a war. Okay? The only ones that I want to start a war with are the liars. Okay? If you are openly lying about something, game on. Okay? Just game on. I'm there all day long because the truth shall set me free. Right? You want to come in and say that, oh man, there's this algorithm thing and the algorithm does this, that, and the other. Evidenced by what? Show yours, I'll show mine. I'll show you why that's not true. Hell, I'll prove it to you why that's not true. You ever had an increase fly out of nowhere? It's like pulling teeth to get anybody to review anything, anytime, good, bad, or indifferent. But yeah, so here's my formal stance on this, and I hope that you guys take this to heart, because I understand that with I don't think I'm a celebrity or anything like that, but I definitely do have people that listen, right? So I want to be cognizant that the words that I choose sometimes matter. I'm not picking a fight with anybody except people that are lying. These, and I'm going to call them entertainment shows because it's a derogatory term for me, that they can barely muster entertainment, and their entertainment is fear. Like, if you want to ride a roller coaster, it's the same as that. Like, you should walk into their situation going, I will learn nothing from them. Now, I know that some people have alluded to which YouTube channels I'm talking about. Okay. And I will tell you that there is only one channel. And some of you have posted it in certain messages where I'm like, look, there were two specific channels that I'm like, wait a minute, man, that's not cool what you're saying. And the first guy's like, oh, well, that's not my intention. It's this, that, and the other. And we had a great talk. And then they've changed course, right? Because I'm pro YouTube channel, even if you're kind of clunky with it and you're not like overtly professional, like you don't know everything. Nobody can know everything unless you work there, right? I like people that are pro veteran that try. They do their best and they're like, hey, look, this is what I think is going on. I don't have all the answers. They qualify their statements. This is more my opinion, because I try to do that. I'll say, hey, look, I don't know exactly what that is. Who are what channels, Andrew? Like the bad channels or the good channels? Like, oh, Disrobe, don't get me started on that topic, please. It upsets me. But like, I know some people don't like the CivDiv. I know that some people don't like Veterans InfoTap. I am fine with them because they're kind of a hybrid. They at least try, right? I know that they've got their claims company. I know that they've got this, that, and the other. I know that like Dwayne's got his business. I know that they're like, a lot of people use YouTube as a business. Okay. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to make it to where it's just an information regurgitation station for me, where I can put out information for everybody. And I want to, and I like Xterra Health too. Like Dwayne's cool. Like Dwayne tries, sometimes he doesn't get everything right. Sometimes I don't get everything right. I'm not perfect. He's not perfect, but we're trying, right? Like everybody's trying. Like he did and sometimes I misspeak, sometimes he misspeaks, but it's fine. We'll catch it and then we'll put out something new for it. But I just Robert, okay. I'm not going to defend, like, that's your opinion, right? Like everybody has their opinion. But I will say that there is a difference between fear mongering and raising awareness to something. And I like to make that distinction, because that one show channel, that's straight fear mongering. They're going to take your benefits. Oh, they're taking your benefits tomorrow. Your paycheck will stop. Like, I'm like, what the? It makes me click on it because I'm like, did I miss something? What the hell happened? And then it's just fear bait, right? It's just fear, and it's like, hey, keep watching my stuff. Yeah, Dr. Barr's stuff I like because, and I'm subscribed to him, just because I find it very interesting, the clinician side of it. I find him and Dr. Sharma very interesting in how they go about talking about how things are evaluated, right? Because I have no perspective on that other than my own personal experiences as a veteran going to the CMP examinations. So I find it sometimes like I'll see the end results of how they, when they came to their conclusion, what did they come to? But, like, how did you get there? Because I want to understand where their thinking comes from. So that way I can try to predict their behaviors in the future. Oops. I hate fear mongering too. And that's part of the reason why, like, I don't cover a lot of political like changes in Congress and whatnot. I only and that's why I don't cover, like, the changes to mental health, tinnitus, sleep apnea, because they haven't went into effect yet. I've talked about them briefly, but just enough to put the awareness out there that we don't know what's gonna happen. But I put out a video about how I'm, especially for mental health, I'm very dissatisfied with the approach that they took, and I gave my informed opinion as to why certain demographics of veterans would be able to take advantage of the changes to mental health that are proposed, but the most significantly mentally ill veterans would be a victim of that change. So I did do a video on that. It's very, very challenging. Um, no need to worry. Backwoods law. I start 15 minutes prior to whenever I say anyway. So sorry, I'm going to be taking drinks in between, so I apologize. But I just I want to make sure that I'm not starting a I don't want to start a fight if I don't have to, right? There are some people out there that legitimately are saying things that are lies just to scare the crap out of you for you to watch them. And you'll know who we're talking about because it'll be every other one is taken away, taken away, taken away. Now, if there's a congressional law coming down the pipe, like I did videos about Lieutenant Dan, right? Because that was actually scary to me that that man was allowed to speak unchecked virtually in a congressional hearing. I didn't really go into the Washington Post stuff because they can't enact change. But if somebody's spewing something to Congress who can actually enact change and they're saying stuff that's like, I'm like, wow, that none of that's true. I'm going to call it out. So, and I try to present a solution, Robert. I do. I do. The Doug Collins, and I mean, I try that stuff, and I've got a video for Doug tomorrow, right? And I'll give you a little heads up on what it is. I was reflecting back tonight, having dinner, reflecting back tonight, just thinking, just chewing and thinking. And I'm like, I cannot think of one thing that Doug Collins has done for the veteran community that matters to me sitting at a dinner table. I haven't, and it takes time, right? Like it takes time to enact change. I get that. I'm not expecting, but we're nearly done with the first year, even though he wasn't in his position for the whole year. But we're nearly done with the first year, and the only thing he has done is scared the shiitake mushrooms out of the staff. Like that's it. That's all he's done. And I don't even know what his plan is. And that has me a little concerned because we have 3 additional years, right, of Doug Collins, and we don't know what the pathway is going to be for the VA. And I'm a little concerned about that because all I keep hearing is we're doing the most claims ever. Well, guess what? Philadelphia did a lot of claims too, right? That one dude did 18,000 claims to the detriment of 18,000 people. Faster is not always better. And I don't know if you guys have seen it, but like a lot of people are getting, adequate rating decisions, but a lot of them are formatting their claims differently. They're having to adapt to a system that is just jacked up. And that's part of the reason why I do the videos, guys, is because the system is completely on its head. And we'll be talking about that tonight. I'm going to be giving you examples tonight about like why, like if you're total and permanent, how can you claim something? What are the differences? And I know that video was challenging to digest. Okay, I get it. I mean, I completely get it. But it has to do with the legal requirements. So, well, okay, hold on. No, saying you've done X amount of claims is not pointless to them. Because for them, and them is just somebody other than me, that's how much they care about the product that they put out. That's my perspective on it. This is my perspective. So I can't anything beyond the tip of my nose, I can't attest to on this one. But if all you care about is how many times that enter button was hit in order to send something downrange to the veteran, oh, we completed them, then you're in this for the wrong reason, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. Because this is like, oh, we did 3 million claims this year. Okay, but how many, if you would have done them right, how many claims would you have done? Right? Because every time a higher level review gets done, the VA gets credit for doing 2 claims just for the higher level review. Because you have the higher level review decision, and then if they find something like a duty to assist, or if they find like a difference of opinion, that creates an additional EP 040 that they get credit for too. So every higher level review typically turns out to be two different conditions. Oh, sorry, I was reading chat. I mean, okay, Doc, let's talk shop for a minute. I gave up chasing that stupid ass bonus. I don't care. Whenever I was a VSR, exceptional was easy to get. I'd get it. I get the bonus. And I work for the entire year at a certain level, sometimes faster than I felt comfortable doing, right? In order to chase a certain dollar amount. But if I did overtime for a weekend, I'd make the same amount as if I'm trying to chase a standard throughout the entire year. Now, whenever I became a rater, I went straight to fully successful, and that's where I stayed. I stayed at the 100 I want to say 115, 117% production. That's where I stayed. I didn't want to go above that to get exceptional, because here's the thing. I want to put out a quality product, and I don't want to because if you do 5 claims a day, then they want 6. If you do 6 claims a day, then they want 7. It's better, to just do the claims that you feel comfortable doing in a day, because if you're, how's that saying go? A pint cannot hold a quart. If it holds the pint, it's doing the best it can. So for me, that's the way I feel about it. I'm not going to chase 18,000 claims like that Philadelphia authorizer did just to make my RO happy. I'm going to put out a quality product to where you've got 100% of my attention. You've got 100% of my expertise dialed into every single claim. I'm not top sheeting stuff. I'm doing the job, right? Like that. And that's for me. That for me is like how I feel. Like that's how I've taught people to be. That's how I've mentored people to be. I've mentored people to be like, look, know your own limitations. Speed will come over time. Expertise is what I want you to focus on, right? The veteran at the other end of that claim wants to make sure that that everything that's put into it is the best. Okay. Oh no. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Right. I got to be careful. Hold on. Raider dude, my left hip is secondarily jacked up from my back. Radiculopathies, knees, broken foot, etc. But I remember you saying the claim multiple primaries for a secondary will piss off everybody. Okay, Trip, that's not actually okay. That is accurate if they're in different body systems. Okay. Secondary, you can have a whole bunch of secondaries. So think about like mental health. I'm depressed because I've got 5 different conditions that cause me chronic pain. The 5 conditions cause one thing, and that's chronic pain. And that's easy. That's one thing that's causing the depression. Same thing with your hip. My service-connected conditions are causing abnormal gait, okay? Abnormal walking, abnormal posture. That's one thing that's causing potentially your back condition. So there's a distinction there, that as long as you can put everything under all of those things, under the one topic of abnormal gait, but you have to have evidence from your doctor that says, hey, look, your spinal condition, your thoracolumbar condition is due to your abnormal gait caused by X, Y, and Z, right? um, and it has to do with how much evidence you have, because the abnormal gait type situation is an intermediate step. So you need almost two separate medical opinions. One that says all of these conditions cause abnormal gait, okay? Because that has to be proven. Even if you have abnormal gait, if it's due to something that's not service connected, it can't, there's no relationship, right? So you need to have one medical opinion that talks about how all of this stuff causes abnormal gait. Then you need a second medical opinion which says the it is at least as likely as not that the abnormal gait itself caused the back condition. Does that make sense? Now, and even when we get to that, it becomes the doctor who does the examination. It's their medical opinion as to whether or not you've satisfied these two separate um, medical opinions for that intermediate step. Now, I do need to get to something here real quick. Okay, Mike, thank you for becoming a member. It's always a pleasure. It's never required, but it is always appreciated. And my dog's outside barking. Trip, I just answered your question, but yes, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate it. It's like I said, it's not required, but it is always appreciated. George, for the coffee donations. Okay. It's the Luna actual like pup cup donations, probably is the better way to say. And North Idaho guy, thank you for your donation. I appreciate it. More than you know. Oh, the freaking Puerto Rican. Ugh. Okay. Raider, between your videos, Dr. Sharma's DBQ, and the evidence I had, my mental health rating went from 30% to 70%. The VA did not burn his DBQ and did not send me to a CMP examination. Thank you. Well, this is, I mean, it's a team effort, right? Like, so I never take credit for anything. Hold on. I've got to text my wife to go get my dog out of my backyard. So my dog shuts up so I can do this thing. Can you get Zoe, please? No, don't you start. I don't even want to hear it from you, Missy. Okay, so back to it. So it's a team effort. But like I said, now this is the closest thing to an endorsement that you'll ever get from me, is that I have actually physically rated Dr. Sharma's DBQs. And I granted both times. Can I predict how every single time will go? No. But I can understand why. It's very detailed. Okay. And it's not that I'm endorsing Dr. Sharma himself. I'm actually just saying that the way that he goes about it is how I've talked about every single time, of the interweaving of evidence, the citing of evidence from the charts and whatnot. I find it to be, for me, it makes me a lot more at ease. So whenever I come across private DBQs, because it's not just him, or anything like that, there are a lot of private DBQ providers out there, doctors, that whenever they explain things, they like to explain it in a medical causal way. Well, that's what's required, right? There's no mystery here. It's literally, as long as the individual, the provider, explains how they know what they know, right? I physically observed this. I also saw it in their medical records on this date and time that they also had this. I was able to confirm that information. That's what we're talking about when we're doing a legal authenticity review, is that, did the examiner do a full on, appropriate and comprehensive examination of the sorry, I was just reading chat, of the condition. Like, did they do a full comprehensive, as evidenced by them citing it, them interweaving it? This is how I know this to be true. This is why I'm at least as likely as not. Okay. And this also comes down to the fact that you remember whenever I did a video and people got very upset at me whenever I said, look, don't try for the 50% chance. If the evidence is there, have them 51% chance. Because whenever a doctor writes to 51% degree of certainty, then they've made a conscious choice. They're not on the fence anymore. And when a doctor's not on the fence, they tend to write better. And that's what I've noticed from this particular individual's work, is that they don't write from a position of, maybe, maybe, because then they don't satisfy the authenticity credibility thing. But it's not, I don't, like, my thing is, like, I'm not trying to endorse anybody like that, but I'm just trying to say, like, how do some individuals have better DBQs than others? Is that the way they write things, the evidence that they use to justify things better matches the VA process? Okay. Now, between you, me, and the fence post, the two instances that I saw, and the freaking Puerto Ricans could have been the only times that Dr. Sharma got it right, because who knows, right? I can't generalize it all the way out. But I'm just saying that certain ways that people write things matter. The words we choose matter. The words examiners choose matter. How they format and organize the evidence matters. Overall, it's very, very so the certified. This is what I'm kind of talking about. The 50%, the 50-50 chance, like the at least as likely as not. That's the standard. That's the minimum standard. And I tell people, never, ever go for the minimum standard. Ever. Because typically they're written horrifically. If the person's confident enough to say, yeah, it's more likely than not due to this. I mean, if they believe that, obviously it has to be telling the truth, guys. Yes, this makes me feel a heck of a lot more comfortable. But if you just say these words, it's not enough. You've got to prove it to the rater. Okay? You've got to prove that, yeah, as evidenced by this, that, and the other. I mean, because think about it. Sometimes you'll read these medical opinions and you'll go, I could have just said that. I literally could have said that. Oh, it's at least as likely as not, or it's less likely than not that it's due to this because, there's other things that could have happened, or there could have been other causes. Okay, you're not medically certain of anything. Did you even try? Like, sometimes, guys, I send things back, right? Like, I send things back and just go, okay, did you even look at anything? You didn't cite anything. And this is VA examiners, by the way. These are VA examiners where it's like, look, you didn't actually account for everything that was required in this because you didn't speak to why you did not provide an adequate rationale, which is required for sufficiency. Okay. So, David, I'll answer this question. Just private DBQs and medical opinions, both. It requires both. So they're private independent medical opinions is the IMO and DBQs, because either way, what they're looking for is they're like, look, 100 miles is unreasonable for you to go seek care unless you're paying for a specific outcome. And that's kind of what they're talking about. B-Ran, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate it. And then look at GC Jarhead. Whew, in with the big 5. Thank you so much. You don't have to do that, guys. Like, it's not required. Yeah, and this is true. Like, GC Jarhead has it on lock here. Your evidence is what's going to get you there, but also presentation. is also going to be what gets you there. Because sometimes, like, the VA, if you're using like a private DBQ, private medical opinion type situation, the VA can hem you up by procedural issues, right? And that's where it just frustrates the heck out of me. So I've been trying to put out those procedural things, like how to build your evidence, like buddy statements. Before I ever talked about it, who ever said your buddy statements have to be corroborated by evidence that they were at the same place at the same time as you? I'll bet you $1, a wooden nickel. How about that? I'll bet you a wooden nickel. Nobody's ever talked about that, even though it's in the manual, even though it's required that all evidence has to be shown to be valid. I mean, when we weigh evidence, right? Like, people want to kick me in the junk for, well, that's not weighing evidence. Okay, but proving that somebody were at the place to know the things that they say that they know, that's a requirement. That's validity. That's authenticity. Those things happen. The absence of evidence means it didn't happen a lot of the time. Brandon, sorry to say, but a lot of the time that's what that means. That's why, guys, if I meet with somebody in a medical capacity, I will shoot them an email after the session and recap what it was about. So that way, even if they complete their chart notes a few days later, I have given them a summary as to what that they can reference if need be, if they forget. Okay, because not every single doctor, not every single clinician write their notes during the examination or directly after the examination. You can have it to where they can write notes like a couple days later. Their recall might not be accurate. So that's why I do that every time. And I suggest you guys do too. Secure messaging at the VA, right? Well, I get that. Have them redact it. Have them redact it. Have them take out their social security number. Have them give something with orders on it. Unfortunately, so a copy of the VA ID doesn't prove that he was at, the Wisconsin, armory on this date and time in which the incident happened. It doesn't show that he served in the same unit as you. So his VA ID doesn't actually satisfy the thing that needs to be satisfied. Okay? So, I mean, it sucks, right? Because it's like, hey, why do you want to know my stuff? I just need to, like, the only part of the DD-214 that I need is I need their first name, their last name. I need to know where they were stationed or something that tells me they were on the same ship at the same time, served in the same capacity, that they could actually be people to testify. This is why the majority of buddy statements have zero value. They're not even worth the paper that they're written on, is because I can't prove who Jim was. I can't prove that Jim knows anything that he knows. Statements have to be corroborated. That's how the evidence works. And it sucks, guys. I know that. But I can't go digging around. If you tell me that Jim Thornton was, he was at the same place at the same time, I'm only allowed to root around in your claim. I can't just pull up some random person and see their stuff. It's not relevant to your claim. I was only given your claim. I can only touch your claim. And this is the process, right, guys? You need to understand this. You need to understand the process, right? Yeah, I know. Well, and Mr. Ray, it's the rules are for me, but not for thee, is how they kind of do it. Their people are vetted, whatever that means, right? Like, because when's the last time you got quality work? I mean, and I'm not digging at them too bad. I know that sounds like a huge dig, but sometimes I have fought with examiners tooth and nail to the point that I called them up. I called their little bluff. If you got a problem, you can call this number. Okay, I'll call that number. Game on. What are you doing? Do I need to get your boss involved? Do I need to get MDO involved? I need you to do this, okay? Me telly, you doey, okay? That's the way this works. I'm the legal requirement. I need you to change stuff, account for stuff, do stuff, and you're going to do it. Or else you're not going to do it for long. Like whatever the hell this is that you're doing here. I don't know what the resistance is. Why are you being resistant? I just need you to account for this stuff. If you don't feel comfortable, then, I'm sorry. But you're required to do this. It's your job description, sir or ma'am or whatever. I mean, I've had people just hem me up. I mean, they called they called me some nasty names on the phone. And I'm like, you let me know when you're done. Because this problem ain't going away. You can have your little tantrum, but you're going to do what I say. You can do it tired or you can do it right now. Because it's just going to keep coming back to you and your boss is going to freak out. I don't know, man, but it seems ridiculous. It is ridiculous, Mr. Ray. It's an arbitrary rule. It's not an absolute even. That's the problem, is that some VA staff members are using it as an absolute. QRT is using it as an absolute for fraud. They're using the 100-mile rule as an absolute. Well, and GC Jarhead, pulling rank, I don't like pulling rank like that, but it's like, look, all you have to do is correct it. Because here's the deal. If you fight with the examiners, the only person that loses is the veteran. Now, I tend to not fight with them, and I tend to work it out as diplomatically as possible, unless they're trying to railroad a denial that has no basis. They're just like, it's denied. No, you're not doing that today. We're not doing that. You're going to explain yourself medically, and you're going to, because somebody paid you a lot of money to apply a medical degree right here and now. And you better, yeah. Oof. I don't know about a lot or many. We'll use your terminology. Many. There can be. I mean, like, sometimes have I looked at stuff? I've got to keep my bias in check a lot of the time, because when you start thinking like that, then everything, you're a hammer and everything's a nail. And that's where a lot of my peers got into trouble, is that they started just seeing, like, that's where people were checking other people's social media, is when they got to that point that they're like, this is forged, I can tell. And then they would go into people's social media and just double check. Where you would see it the most is you would see it in situations where the veteran's range of motion, like on their spine and neck, was 0 all the way down. And it's like, how did you get here? Life flight helicopter on a gurney? Did somebody wheel them into the thing on a gurney? 0 degrees movement is impossible. And that's what typically fuels them to check other people's stuff. And that was mine too. Doc, we might need to see if we worked at the same place. I mean, that's my motto. Yeah, that's the motto at my RO. Try to answer a couple questions here. Why would a PA examiner's opinion be more probative than my PCP PA bias? Because they believe the CMP examiner doesn't have a reason to provide a statement, any kind of motivation. I don't understand it. I mean, it falls in line with like where sleep apnea due to toxic chemicals. 10 claims, exact same claim. I was exposed to jet fuel. 5 of the claims are granted. 5 of the claims are denied. 5 of the claims that are granted are like, yes, it's at least as likely as not jet fuel caused the veteran's sleep apnea. The other 5 sit there and go, there is no way on earth and under heaven that this could ever be related medically under science. Do you know how frustrating it is to have to deny people for something that is blatantly and factually not true because I've granted 5 over here. So it's patently false, it's not true. Because scientifically, this person disagreed with you, but you have to go with whatever they say, unfortunately. Ugh, it drives me nuts. Let me see here. Words. CMP coming up, 21, mostly musculoskeletal conditions. If I'm asymptomatic with normal range of motion on exam day, should I describe my flare-ups? Yes, you should always describe flare-ups on musculoskeletal conditions, even when you're having a bad day. But, and functional limits, can I still be rated accurate? Yes, you can. Now, keep in mind, this goes for everybody. Painful motion is a minimum 10% rating for musculoskeletal conditions, with the exception of the shoulders, which is a minimum 20%. So painful motion itself, it doesn't matter if your range of motion is perfect. If you have pain upon motion, right, clicking, grinding, whatever pain upon motion, then you get the minimum 10% if granted. So okay, hold on. Let me get here. And then Michael, thank you so much for is that yen? I don't know. But anyway, thank you. I'm gonna have to look that one up. That's different. That's new. I didn't know we did exchange rates, but cool. Thank you so much though. I mean, you don't have to you guys don't have to donate, but when you do, it's always appreciated. I do appreciate it. Raider, do you agree it's stopping when you feel pain for range of motion? No. And okay, I'm just going to be honest with you. So you get 10% for painful motion, right? So that's the minimum thing. The range of motion limitations are for factual range of motion. It can only go this far. It would be like me trying to do the splits, getting about 30 degrees in both directions and going, the body says no, and you can have an elephant step on me, and there ain't no way that my legs are moving any further. That's kind of what the range of motion limitation is for, because there are other pathways for most conditions, like painful range of motion minimum. You've got flare-ups that can, a flare-up itself is when they're talking about the pain or whatever you have, the inflammation, limits your range of motion to a specific spot, not whenever it becomes painful, right? Because flare-ups, it's not where they become painful, it's where you physically cannot move your joint beyond this point due to a flare-up. So that's why I say that, is because that standard for flare-ups has to be also applied to the normal range of motion. So it's physically how far can you go, or you can use flare-ups, right? So, and it's probably an unpopular opinion, but that's kind of like the legalese of it. Now, guys, I want to talk to you about something real quick. I know I'm probably getting off track here. Sorry. We're going to talk about something crazy. We're going to talk about something that is challenging. And I don't know if you see this nonsense, but yeah, this is happening. So, do you guys remember on my video, I think it was yesterday, whenever I talked about like claiming something when you have TDIU, you're total and permanent, 100%, and you want to claim something else. And this little thought experiment here, what we're talking about, what I wanted to kind of clear up is when you're claiming something for, I want to talk about the principle here. And the principle is that you make a claim submission like on 12/20/25, and you submit evidence with that claim submission. Okay. You have to consider that this date right here, this is the claim submission. You submitted the claim document, you submitted evidence with it. The VSR can only review this day for a substantially complete application, which means like everything that you're trying to claim can only be reviewed on this day. Think of it like a law, like you're filing a legal document. You're filing some kind of legal statement. Well, the date of submission of that statement is when you get to define everything about. I am claiming that GC Jarhead ran over my foot with a car, fictionally, and I'm claiming damages based upon that. Well, this is the legal date that you are making your claim. So if you infer something, like you say, like you're trying to claim something like erectile dysfunction secondary to PTSD that has gotten worse. When you qualify that something has gotten worse on the day of your claim submission, it allows for the VSR to infer, based upon this manual reference right here, that you're saying that your PTSD has changed or gotten worse. So you're claiming an increase for that PTSD. That's how this works. And don't worry, I had it coming. GC Jarhead knew it. I was a bad boy, and I deserve to have my foot run over. So what we're talking about with that video, and I just kind of wanted to put it out here, is that the VSR has one single day to make this inferring nonsense right here for, oh, he claims something secondary to something else, but it got worse. So they only can do that on the date the claim form and evidence with the claim form was submitted. So if the VSR found evidence in 12/20/25 that you made a statement like this, that something had gotten worse, then they could bring that thing to issue. Okay. And that is what I was talking about. So a way to potentially trick the system is, when you're like total and permanent, is you file the claim erectile dysfunction secondary to PTSD. So that way, whenever the VSR does the does the screening for this, they don't find that you've said anything is worse. You're just saying A caused B. But 2 days later, you submit all the rest of your evidence. And this is where you start piling on. Oh, yeah, everything's worse. Everything's this. Everything's that. Why just that day, Robert? That is a very good question. Why just that day? It has to do with determining if a claim is complete. So as of March 24th, 2015, okay, they changed it to where if you are claiming something got worse, it has to be with a claim form. Okay, that's what this is saying, is that unless specified in this manual reference, all claims governed by the VA's adjudication regulations must be filed on a standard form prescribed by the secretary. If you submit additional evidence saying that your condition got worse on a VA form 21-4138, if you submitted that 2 days afterwards, there's no claim form with this particular evidence. So there's no claim for this additional worsening condition. That's what it means. Okay, Doc Shelley, you got me there. You stop. But this is what this means, is that anything that's submitted with the claim form counts on the same day, counts as a submission for service connection. So you are inferring that when you submit evidence with that claim submission, that everything, if you say something got worse, then you're inferring that you're claiming an increase for it. They can only do that on the same day because there's no claim submission. There's no form. Here, let me add this. So we got a claim submission form here, right? Now, if you should submit another claim submission form with additional evidence that says something got worse, well, then you have two separate claims. So then they can infer everything that's worsened in this evidence too. But if they don't have this, this is a trick, okay? This is a trick to go, okay, if if I'm total and permanent and I want to claim something secondary to something else, I'm going to submit it as plainly as I humanly can on the same day of the submission. Then the next day or the day following, I'm going to add my additional spicy evidence. All my stuff that maybe gives my PTSD has gotten worse and so, because they cannot do that. There's no claim form on the 22nd. There is only a claim form on the 20th. So they can't, it's not like you open the door forever. It's only stuff that happens on the same day gets to count under this claim form. So this is why I say whenever you file for something and your TDIU, you should submit it generally and then provide your evidence a day or two later, because the VSRs cannot rope in things that were submitted on 12/22. What they have to do is they have to, if they believe that you're trying to claim something on this date, then they have to send you a request for application, because it says it right here. It says anything like statements received without a prescribed form on or after March 24th, 2015 will be considered a request for application, and we will send you a request for application to which you can or cannot fill out, but we're not raising it to issue. We're not sending you for an exam for it because we technically cannot. So it just has to do with when the evidence is received. So if you're total and permanent, all the evidence gets the same review here for increase for the same day of the claim submission. No claim form on this day's evidence, so they can't actually do an increase exam for it. That's true. Yes, MCM, this is true. This standard is not locked to TDIU. This has to do with everything. 10% rating, 20%, 30%. It doesn't matter what you're rated at. This is the way the system works. Same day review for everything. Additional things cannot be added to. You would need a claim form with that additional evidence for us to add those particular things. If you just submit random evidence a week or two later, we have to solicit for a claim form if you did not provide one, because it's not a substantially complete claim. It's just you saying something got worse, which is what we consider a request for application. So this is something that I know I probably didn't explain this very well, and I'm sorry, guys. There's no real way to understand this. This is like talking about how the casino works behind the scenes, and it's like, unless you have a frame of reference, it's not actually it can be very confusing. So it is safer on the first day to just say A caused B, and then a day or two later, say whatever you want to say. As long as this information comes in before the exam request happens, random day, I don't know when it happens, but you want to make sure it's a day or two later, but not a week or two later, because that information could be withheld from the exam request, which would be bad. Okay. Yeah, and old nuke, this is off the tracks, I'll admit. Oops, shoot. This is off the tracks. And I'm sorry, guys, but this is the way the system works. So you can game the system a little bit, not in a bad way, not in a disingenuous way, but to say, hey, look, I don't know if that idiot VSR will actually raise my PTSD to issue. I have no desire to touch my PTSD. This would be a way around it. Submit your claim for the secondary condition, like let's say erectile dysfunction secondary to PTSD, submit it, and then the next day submit your evidence. Okay. I can't with the reason why this matters to me is because so many veterans will not file claims because they're so petrified that somebody will touch something. This is how you can go about, because they'll get a quality error if they raise it to issue. The authorizer will be like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? They didn't claim this. This is erroneous. You can't. The rater will go, wait a minute, where's the claim form with this? You have to solicit the claim form before we can get an exam. You have to solicit a claim form. We can't touch this until you get a claim form. I don't care if you get an 0995. I don't care if you get a 526, but we need a claim form with this stuff right here. We need this additional evidence. We need a claim form before I can touch it, right? Doc Shelley, I don't know about that. I haven't heard about that, but that would be wild. Okay, I'll get SMCL one day. I will definitely be blind in my other eye at some point. SMCK for my other eye, and that can, and unfortunately, I'm so sorry. That's it sucks. But as long as you meet the criteria, that's all that matters. Is you have to meet the legal criteria for that. But I'm sorry that you're going through that. I apologize. Um. If you're service connected at 10%, can your one service connection be taken away from you? I mean, yeah, technically. If you like, were you never supposed to be service connected? I mean, did you get 10% for, like, let's say, Ryanitis for service connected due to Iraq service and you never went to Iraq? I mean, if it was erroneously granted, then yes, you technically could in the future. But if you're just talking about I'm 10% and I'm wondering if they'll come after me, there's act of God type situations where, like Philadelphia, where somebody just did something at the behest of their leadership and they caused a lot of problems. Okay. So, I mean, can it happen? Technically, yes. Should you be up all night worried about it? No. I mean, if it's not supposed to be granted, it's not supposed to be granted. And it'll be a matter of time, but someday somebody will find it. Mr. Ray's question. If the VA is tossing private DBQs and medical opinions, how can I front load my claim then? Because buddy statements and a diagnosis aren't just enough. I don't know what else to do. Okay, so Mr. Ray, some of the things like, okay, if you're asking me my opinion on my own claim, like if my claim was sitting there, what would I do? Okay. Number one, I would make sure that I have very consistent treatment for the condition. Like I assume that this is about service connection, but regardless, even like if I'm trying to increase something, then you need to show evidence that something is wrong. You need to look at the 38 CFR Part 4 for the conditions that we're talking about, right? And you need to make sure that you identify all the symptoms and make sure that you actually have them listed in your medical records. So this is part of the reason why I email things back. Hey, doc, just wanted to double tap on this and say, hey, look, we talked today about my X and my Y and my Z being at issue. And I'd like to thank you for taking the time. If I recall correctly, you're going to prescribe me medicine related to this, that, and the other for the conditions of X, Y, and Z, right? And for the symptoms of X, Y, and Z. And that is what I'm talking about, is you are making it, you're interweaving it to where even if they refuse to say it, you say it back to them for two reasons. Number one, you want to try to encourage that they will remember that you talked about that, because not every single examiner does their notes in the meeting. Okay. So you need to remind them of it. Also, those secure messages to your doctor are part of your medical record. So they will be there and they count. Okay. Mr. Ray, I'm sorry if I did it wrong or if you don't appreciate the way I did it. I just it's how I would do it myself, right? Because I'm going to make sure that I don't rely on I try not to rely on anybody else. I try to double tap coverage. So if somebody lets me down, I've got a backup for that. Right. And we're not talking about embellishing anything. We're just talking about annotating, documenting, keeping it to where I'm not a crazy person. I'm very detailed because a lot of things get missed. I'm not judgmental on the examiners. I was an examiner in the well, not an examiner, but I was a clinician in the VA. the VHA. So I understand, right? Like I understand why not every single time everything gets annotated the exact same way it happened. And that's because the notes don't get done in real time. So you're dealing with somebody's short term and long term memory, helping them to jog that. It behooves you to do this. It behooves you to give them like, hey, look, doc, this is what my so and so is. Because sometimes you're sending the secure messages to the nurses, but the nurses have to respond to it. They've got to go talk to the doctor and jog the doctor's memory about it. And then it's like, oh, okay, got it. We'll prescribe that. Um, uh, TDIU PNT. Should I risk working even if it's under the poverty threshold? I mean, okay. I'm going to say something here. And I don't dislike TDIU, but I have a fundamental different understanding of TDIU than most people, like how I perceive it. Doctors have legally attested that you are physically unable to maintain gainful employment due to your medical service connected conditions or mental health. I mean, medical or mental health. If you do work, it cannot be gainful employment. If it becomes gainful employment, and Jim reminded me of this because I don't practice this way. But Jim said, hey, look, you basically, these are the rules. The rule is it's poverty level of the veteran alone, not their family and the veteran, just the veteran, that poverty level. Just know if you exceed that poverty amount, there is no empathy because you have proven the doctor's wrong. It's a miracle. He can work. And it's hard to get that back. Okay? If you exceed the poverty level, it's hard to get TDIU back because medically they attested you can't work. You proved them wrong. And you got gainful employment that means that you make over the poverty level. Now, here's the effed up thing. Okay? Here's the effed up thing is that the poverty level is not a living wage. Okay? So, yes, you can. What do I see a lot of the times? I see people that sell houses. They can easily calculate how much their commission is going to be. So they'll sell 2-3 houses a year, know what the commission is, and then they'll stop working. It's intermediate work at best, and they just stop working. Now, and this is kind of the thing where it's like, look, I'm not telling people to game the system or nothing like that, but I'm just reiterating the fact that medically you were cleared that you cannot physically work to a gainful level. If you exceed that, the VA will not have empathy for you. They will not say, oh man, it's just this one time. It's just, it happened so fast. I didn't know what to do. I just made more than the poverty level. Okay, then you fine is what's going to happen. They will cut you, right? Because the IRS will post that you made more numbers. You will get a letter saying, hey, look, do you wish to appeal this? But what are you going to appeal? The only thing that you can appeal is that, hey, look, I'm in a protected environment, like a family business or something like that. And I accidentally made more, but it's a sheltered environment, right? Like that's something that you could argue, right? Like but normal employment's not like that. It's not sheltered stuff. U.S. Army grunt, no, because there's a scheduler requirement. So let me go here. I know I didn't answer a lot of questions tonight, guys. I'm sorry. But no, there's a scheduler requirement that says that you have to have like off the top of my head, I don't remember it, but 60% combined evaluation type thing. Like you have to meet a certain criteria of scheduler disability, with certain ones being so disabling and other ones, being added in there. You don't have to. Now, here's the funny thing. If you have the overall percentages needed. You don't have to claim IU for all of those conditions. You just have to like have service connected all those required percentages. You just have to claim it for whatever is causing it. It's kind of weird. Yeah. Yeah, doc. Yeah, that's right. I'm just sorry. Yeah. Doc and MCM are right on that one. So it's you guys got to be careful with TDIU. I know there's an appeal there because it's like, look, and I don't doubt people that claim TDIU. I don't. I trust me. I've contemplated TDIU a couple times because I'm like, look, you guys are pushing me. Like you don't like mental health wise, you don't want to, mess with me too much, but it's just one of those things where if you mess with it, right, you work over, you've got to have the ability to calculate what that amount is. If you go over it, they will take from you. That is as certain as a heart attack. They will take from you. And you won't like that because if you're getting a job for social reasons, cool. If you can live on whatever your percentage is now before the TDIU, then cool. Yeah, you do you. But if you can't, and you're getting a job because you can't make ends meet, then you need to manage your means to the point that you don't exceed that level because they will take you. They will take from you. They will take it. They will take it all day long. I don't even know. Bilbs, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate it. Always appreciated, never required, never, And then Doc Shelley coming in for the membership. Doc Shelley. Doc Shelley's hilarious. I've never Doc Shelley dislikes the VA more than I do. And I don't really I don't dislike the VA, like what the mission is and whatnot, but I dislike the games. I dislike the BS. I dislike the nonsense. I dislike it beyond all recognition. And that's the thing, and never trust the VA is Doc Shelley's thing. So I hope that we were able to at least, if you guys want to clear up this my video based upon the date the evidence is submitted versus the date additional evidence is submitted does not get the same review criteria because this date of evidence would be deemed a request for application for an increase. We can't just add additional conditions onto things. If you want to add something onto your claim, you got to do it with a claim form. So, but it's a kind of a little trick that people can use to get around doing like pulling things in when they're TDIU or when they're total and permanent. That way they don't pull something in when they claim it's secondary. So yeah, no, Doc, look, Doc, that is so true in many different ways. And also, I'm going to put the PSA back out there because nobody seems to have heard me, but stop sending dick pics with your ED claims. Nobody is going to use penis pictures in the pursuit of your claim. Okay? Flaccid penis is not compelling argument for anything. Okay? If you're just checking the box that you have a penis, we believe you. Okay? We do not need dick pics. Please stop sending them. That's for everybody. I'm speaking on everybody's behalf. Please stop sending those. Okay? I wish they'd screen them out because I need it to stop. Okay? No means no. Okay? I mean this. I'm not trying to be funny here. I'm literally saying we do not need the pictures of your penis. Now, on the flip side, for female sexual arousal disorder, we are not getting pictures of female anatomy. Okay, so I think that the men can handle stopping to do this because the females can handle not sending in pictures of themselves, and they're able to get granted whenever the evidence warrants it. So I know this is an unpopular opinion, but please stop. Okay. Um, and Luna would like to thank you for stop sending pictures in. All the Raiders are bummed. Oh man, we can't see anymore. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, but I don't know. So where am I at on my list of things here? So I've talked about the push for 10K, for 10K subscribers. Let's see where we're at right now. Let's look and let's see. Let's look and see where we're at on the subscriber list. I lost a subscriber. That's hilarious. It does happen. I was at 211, now I'm at 210. So I think somebody took the penis pictures and they just got their ball and they're walking home with their penis pictures. So I apologize. I'm trying for 10K. No, and that's where we're at. We're at 9,210. We were at 9,211 before the stream started, but somebody felt strongly about the penis pictures and they left. And I'm sorry. I apologize, guys. I do plan on it. Derek can't do the reviews for them, so I might need somebody else to do. If somebody else was wanting to basically shoot me an email with the unanswered questions, that would be helpful. I just don't have time in the day to do it. So if somebody felt the need to go to watch my live stream again and see what questions got answered in the chat and then made a spreadsheet of it. This is hilarious. Please don't do that. But yeah, so and they don't like, look, I appreciated all of the effort to make the list. It is a pain in the bottom to make the list. Let me see here. But yeah, yeah, Derek just life happens and I get it. I've got the live stream up until 11:08. So anything after 11:08, I would need people somebody, if they want to review them and just kind of yeah, and if Derek wants to take it over again, that's cool. But if somebody wants to do it, like First John, if you want to do that, anybody that wants to do it, they can do it. Just go through and this is kind of the format that. Let me try to share my screen. Stop the screen sharing. Add the screen sharing. Share thy screen. So this is going to be kind of the template for it, is the requester, who made the question, what the question was, and make sure that the whole question's there. And that's about it. I don't need, like, man, Derek did some crazy stuff here. Answered, and then he did like the answered question false, but he just took all the questions and kind of just put them in here like this. I still have to, I think, do this video right here, and I'll probably do that tomorrow. But yeah, if anybody wants to do that, I do like the Excel format because then I can track it. So I don't know. Yeah, I do like the Excel format. Yeah. So First John, if you can do that for the live streams after 11:08, you can give it a try. And if you feel comfortable with it, you can try it. Just verbatim if you could, because I'll read them. Like, even if they're like me and the English, like, just honestly doesn't come well, I'll fill in the blanks with my brain. But yeah, just put them verbatim if you can. And that'll be very helpful, because I will It's just from 11. It's after 11:8. So this is any of them after 11:8. Just feel free. And then if you want to do one or two, and you're like, I can't do that, then just we'll pass the baton. Anybody that wants to help out, I'll answer the questions, and I'll just do video after video of them. Because you guys like them. I like doing them. I just don't have the time to dedicate to researching them. And George, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Because I mean, this takes a lot of time, and I understand that. Like, this is very nice of anybody that wants to do this. I'll do the oh, good. Thank you. Thank you very much. And that's all you guys ever have to do is subscribe. You don't have to do anything more than just subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe. I'm just honestly trying to put the message out there because, you know, uh, accurate ratings, right? It would be nice to have it be where, okay, the medical evidence is the reason why I didn't get granted, not some stupid nonsense that some rater or VSR is doing because they don't understand something. What? Oh, hold on. Let me get there. You had a question, George? Hold on. I can't find the question. Repost the question, George. It didn't come with the membership thing. It just said you were a new member. So if you can retype the if you can retype the question, George, I will answer you. I mean, I got this one. This is Oh, you mean this one right here? Oh, okay, hold on. I'm getting it now. Hold on. Hold on. George. What why not? Let's do a couple of these. Okay? Like, why not? Hold on. Let's go let's get crazy with this. Hold on. I mean, if you want to, I'll do it. So, I'll do the first 10. Aaron didn't mess up. I want a higher level review due to assist and a new exam with a new company. Is there a way for me to add new evidence to the claim? Or do I have to let it play out and wait for a new decision? I don't see the option on the higher level review or even send in a 21-4138 asking for a long form narrative. Okay, so this question was like over a month ago, right? But Aaron asking that. So what happens is when you have a duty to assist error, you'll get a first rating decision, right? From the DRO saying that there was a duty to assist error. Then what happens is, I know. I think he means on the spreadsheet, MCM. I'm going to do it because it's right down here. So George is number 11 and 12. So we'll do number 11 and 12 when we get to it. But basically, when the claim switches over to an 040, then you can submit new evidence. This is something I'm going to actually write this down of video idea. So for new evidence for a higher level review. Okay. But I'll answer George's question right now. I called the VA hotline to see if I could get a hardship speed up on my VA claim. I had filled out a personal statement, VA form 5655. I know that was the wrong form, and I should have filled out the VA form 21-4138. I filled out the 5655 form because they told me I was told on the phone that she would see what she could do because I had filed a personal statement and all the information they needed was on the wrong form. What are the chances of getting hardship? Okay. So, George, it depends on what the hardship was for. Okay. Because there are truly only a very few sets of hardship that will actually speed up your claim. So like terminal illness is one of them. Homelessness is another. Over what was it? Over 80? There's an age one. I don't remember it because raters don't look at flashes anymore. Like they don't look at flashes. That's a VSR thing. But if you don't meet those criteria, then the hardship doesn't necessarily speed up any kind of claim. If you have a claim that's been sitting there for a really long time, something that's even faster is doing a congressional review where you go to your congressman's veteran liaison, and then they'll put in an inquiry and say, hey, what's going on with this claim? And it goes to the regional office's director, and then it disseminates down, and they go, what's going on with this claim? What's going on with this claim? And it puts eyes on it at the very least. So that's a way that you can potentially kind of review it. Financial hardship, unfortunately, George is not something that they're going to care about. I would go to your congressman and ask them to please see if they can hurry that up because they have 48 hours to respond back for a congressional inquiry, and it won't do anything other than make sure that somebody gets assigned that condition. It gets somebody assigned it. Doc Shelley's not wrong. I have both. Yeah, it does not hurt. It helps so much. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, George, I would do a congressional review. I would go to your local congressman's veteran representative and just go, hey, look, can we get a sit rep on this? What's going down? Like, what's going on? Why are we doing this? Because the RO, the regional office, number one, if it's sitting at the national work queue, it has to be assigned to a regional office in order for them to do their 48-hour review. Okay, so that's kind of one advantageous thing. If it's stuck, if it fell through the cracks and it's stuck, this can be it can get the claim moving, because if it's been sitting at the national work queue for a year, just sitting there because of whatever reason, maybe it got glitched out, it pulls it into a regional office in order for them to do eyes on and go, okay, I've had to do these before. And it's like, yes, and things start popping because maybe not because a senator said something, but because it gets pulled to a regional office and then they're like, okay, give me a sit rep on this. What's going down? I don't know. It's been in delay for a long time, but we have everything we need to rate. Could be one scenario, right? But congressional reviews, I've done them on my own personal claims and go, look, I'm going to tell you right now, this has been, this is a long time. Like I did a congressional inquiry on something else on a VRNA thing. Oh no, MCM. Like this is something that somebody like the coach. Okay, so here's what happens: goes to the RO, the inquiry goes to the director. The director disseminates it to one of the associate directors. The associate director puts it to the manager of the VSCM. The VSCM manager tracks down. We'll typically see it'll get assigned to a coach. The coach will assign it likely to their best swinger, like whoever they've got, the heavy hitter of the exam liaison, the somebody that knows what they're doing. Okay. Because the explanation that is given by the rater has to be given by the coach, and the coach has to give it to the director. It's got to go upwards, right? So you want the most intellectually satisfying response. So you'll get a heavy hitter to complete it. And I do them a lot, right? Like QRT liaison type thing. And you want somebody that can actually like dissect what's going on, what's missing, how long would that take? Give me a some kind of give me some kind of identify what the rating barriers are currently. What actions can you take? What actions can't you take? Why can't you take them? What would need to be satisfied to take them? Like I've given, and it's typically responded to an email format. And it would be like, look, if you want me to work this, this is as far as I can go. But this is what would need to be done. This is what I see is done. This is what the barriers were beforehand, you know. Um, and that's kind of the old nuke. That's kind of what this is for. Like, you guys want to pick my brain about stuff. This is what we're talking about. Like, I mean, value added. Can you sit here with me and be entertained? You know, who's your daddy? What does he do? You know, we can talk about that. But mostly you're here for the heavy hitters. You're here to learn how the sausage is made. And that's the thing. Yeah. And Doc, I believe you were, because I can tell by how you say things, right? Like, you know, the ins and outs, right? Like, come on, do it. Kill me. Come on. Send your congressman. Kill me. No, but it's not for entertainment. Like, this is the kind of stuff that, like, and I'll be honest, and maybe Doc can attest to this too, is that sometimes I know so much stuff that I forget that you guys don't know it. Something that seems so arbitrary to me is something that people hang on every single word that I say. And it feels weird, guys. It honestly does. Like, it feels genuinely weird to be like that. Get to the chopper. Come on. It's not a tumor. But yeah, so I don't know. It's very bizarre at times. Like, how many videos could I make? I could make 1,000 videos and still not touch the surface of everything that every single veteran needs to know. I could make 1,000 videos quickly, easily, and just give you the foundational information. And that's not an embellishment either. Like, there's so many different facets to things. Like, I could talk, and I'll say this is both true and untrue. Sorry. Luna, calm down. Calm down. It's fine. We're fine. Everybody. Okay. I gotta put the dog bark thing up. But it's both true and untrue, because, like, look, no congressman's going to tell me how to do my job. I don't care what the congressman has to say. But what it does tell me, right, is, hey, look, something's gone sideways and the veteran needs to know what's going on. I will give a fair, balanced, accurate assessment of what's going on. If I can take all the actions that day, hey, let's calm down, okay? If I can take all the actions to put it in the authorizer's hands that day, I'll do it, right? Now, what will it do? Will I address it the first thing? Is it my first claim I will address? Yes. That is one thing it does do, is it will change my order of operations. Like, I was going to work these 5 claims today. Well, I'm going to put this congressional in the top of my list to get it done, because my coach has a suspense on it that this needs to be done before so-and-so, so that way he can brief all the people up the chain of command. So it does actually put it to the top of the list to be reviewed. But whenever it comes to, I love appeals. I'm not going to lie. But so I don't know. Yeah, she is missing her daddy right now. Hey, there is no reason to be bad. You stay out of there. There ain't no reason for that. You just go over here. I know you said you wanted to do the live stream, and then whenever it was time, you said nope. You said no. So we're not doing that. You had to pick it. So why don't Raiders look at flashes? What about Barry SMC decision for additional level bumps? Trip, that's not what I mean whenever I say flashes. Like, a flash is like a marker that's meant for the VA to track special, like, they track how many terminally ill veterans they have. How fast did the terminally ill veterans claim get done? How did the terminally ill veterans claim get lost? Like a flash is like just assigning it. Like you can have Vietnam veterans flashes. They're like little qualifiers on there. So you know how like you guys have like see how MCM here has a wrench next to her thing? That's kind of like what a flash is. A flash is just dictating something to determine that it gets in the background, claims will be organized a certain way. Flashes are to help the VA in the national work queue organize what kind of batch it will be attached to. Okay. So it's really weird. It doesn't do anything with the rating. If the veteran is terminally ill, that doesn't necessarily impact my rating decision. Them being homeless doesn't impact my rating decision. They're just qualifiers on how fast the claims get organized, like in the national work queue, or if they're supposed to go to special ROs to be adjudicated. Okay. That's what they're mainly there for. Yeah. It's corporate flash. Yeah. That's what, yeah, Trip. Yeah. You got it. Yeah. That's what flashes are. Corporate flash. Yep. So corporate flashes don't influence the rater's process at all. It can influence the VSR's process. It can even influence the authorizer's process. But most of the time, the corporate flashes are with pushing claims. Where's this claim need to go? Oh, it needs to go here. How quickly does it need to go? You know, okay, it's going to the top of the list because they're over 85, type situation. Or they're going to the top of the list because they're terminally ill. Let's process this, right? So just that's the kind of thing for those, right? And sometimes, every great once in a while, I get a little bit frustrated because not with you guys or anything like that, but sometimes people will erroneously attribute stuff and just be like, well, I'm this, I'm that. Okay. Like if like you were a homeless veteran. Okay, then we have homeless veteran coordinators on the VSR side that help coordinate, and like homeless veteran claims. The reason why they're flashed homeless is so that way they get routed to wherever the veteran is. So that way the homeless veteran coordinator can work with social workers where the veteran is currently residing. And then that way they can coordinate, because it's hard to send a letter to somebody that doesn't have an address. They can coordinate with different staff members and make sure that the veteran gets to the exams. So that's why the flash matters for the homeless veteran type situation. On terminally ill, we want to make sure that we're getting it as quickly as possible because they're terminally ill. They could, that, and in order to satisfy the terminal ill flash, they have to be on palliative care, hospice, typically 6 months left to live. Okay. And I'm sorry, I know that you probably didn't want that level of detail, but like if you guys ask me something, I will go down the rabbit hole if need be. Um, all right, let's do this. Tim Hawkins, sorry, apologize. I guess like Tony Hawk there. I was thinking, okay. So I will break down in real time what happened. You filed a claim. You submitted a private DBQ and private nexus letter. Your private DBQ and private nexus letter were determined to be insufficient for rating purposes. They were essentially thrown in the trash. They were burned. They were not used in any way, shape, or form. Now, I need to tell you guys that when you get your private DBQs burned, it is not partially, it is completely. They have no value whatsoever. You were sent to VA examinations because your private DBQs were burned. And it sucks because when you claimed those conditions, The reason why you got a psych one is because they thought you were claiming an increase on your adjustment disorder. So this harkens back to my discussion about how you claim things matters. And the CMP was probably medical for the sleep apnea, but it's just frustrating because I wish that they would clarify the intent of the veteran rather than do that automatically pulled thing. Yeah, that's what I mean. They burned it. No, they don't show up in evidence. So that's the problem, is that when they're burned, it's as if they never existed. They don't even have to show them in evidence. And I'm going to tell you, based upon the short form narrative, and you guys can go to the video for that. If a short form narrative is required, if a long form narrative is not required, they don't have to list that evidence. Now, what should they do? If they've overturned your private DBQs and deemed them insufficient, there should be a note in VBMS saying why they did it. There should also be in the evidence section in VBMS or in the rating decision, they should list that your evidence, your DBQs were deemed insufficient for rating purposes. This should be written all over as many places as humanly possible, but they don't do it all the time. This is an interesting question. But they brought it to issue because if you say, and this, yeah, like I said beforehand, this has to do with the, I'm claiming sleep apnea due to my worsening anxiety and depression. Well, that's two separate claims that you just made right there. You made sleep apnea secondary to mental health, and you're claiming an increase because you potentially said that your anxiety and depression got worse. So, zero boundaries. I'm going to say, is it worth having a private DBQ? And I get it. I type things out wrong. It depends. It depends on who's doing it. It depends on how thorough they are. And it also depends on what you're claiming. Some things are so easily connected, like presumptive conditions. No, you don't need a private DBQ for that. Increase claims. Typically, if the evidence is there, the evidence is there. Oh, Queen of Wands, thank you for reminding me. I will get to that here in just a second. So typically, what do I send for a private DBQ? I'll send for a private DBQ if I have something complex, like my heart condition. And this is a heart doctor that is, cardiologist. And they're trying to say that in their medical opinion, they believe that the condition's caused by, jet fuel exposure or something like that. Something to where there's normally a lower threshold for having the condition be granted. Now, sleep apnea is one. If I'm going to do sleep apnea due to chemical exposures, I typically would like to see a private DBQ. Sometimes mental health, if you're claiming something that's outside the norm, maybe, if it's for routine standard stuff, I injured my knee in service. If you have element 1, element 2, element 3, and you can explain from the time of the injury until now what your treatments look like, I don't think you need a private DBQ. Now, but see, Doc, here's the thing. I think you could get back on the horse, though, Doc. I do. I think you could get back on the horse. You could look in the 38 CFR. You could look in the M21-1, right? Because there's nothing, the process itself hasn't changed too much except for like maybe PACT Act and Terra, but I think you could do it. I think you could get back in the game. Where's the Queen of Wands question? Okay. I'll read it. I don't want to read it, but I'll read it. Can you explain how decision favorable findings says onset in service, you have a disability, but not given service connection contradiction? It is not a contradiction. There are 3 elements to saying that to service connection anything. Element 1, current diagnosis, right? You need that. Element 2. Element 2 changes depending on what theory we're talking about. But it's typically how is it related to service? So sometimes like direct service connection, that has to do with and that's what you're kind of talking about here. So let's talk about it. So for direct theory, it's element 1 is current diagnosis. Element 2 is in-service event, injury, diagnosis, treatment, etc. Element 3 is either going to be it's established by presumption or it requires a medical opinion saying that A caused B. And you can have it to where you have a favorable finding that you have a current diagnosis. You have a favorable finding that you had an injury in service. However, and now this is where the trick comes in, you are missing element 3. When you look at your rating decisions and you're trying to like appeal something, you need to find those 3 elements and see out of the favorable findings, it tells you what elements out of the 3 are there. So for you, you've got element 1, element 2, but you're missing element 3. What's the best way to satisfy an appeal when you are missing element 3? The only way that you can overcome your scenario is if you have another doctor who actually reviews the evidence and says, I disagree. I think that in-service injury would have caused a permanent disability as evidenced by this medical precedent here or whatever. And I think that original injury would have, number 1, caused a permanent disability, and number 2, that the disability that the veteran has right now is at least as likely as not the result of that original manifestation injury in service. That's what you're having here. Like that's what the issue is that you can have it to where element 1 and element 2 are satisfied, but element 3 isn't satisfied. If you want to know the most deranged situation is hearing loss and tinnitus. Hearing loss and tinnitus can have element 2 and element 3 be true, but miss element 1. So you can have a situation, and it blows my mind every time I've ever had to write it, is that, oh, you have a positive medical opinion for hearing loss being caused by service. You just don't have hearing loss for VA purposes. You have hearing loss medically, but you just don't, your hearing loss just isn't quite severe enough to cause you to be granted for VA purposes. It blows my mind. Ken, hold on. Let me find it. Current diagnosis. Does that mean that the diagnosis has been given within the last year? No. It means that it's on your current problems list. Typically, for element 1 to be satisfied, you need a current diagnosis, which does mean that you were diagnosed with something and that the diagnosis is still true to within the last year. So that can be, like you have it on your active problems list at the VA. You have it on your active problems list here, there, and everywhere. But what we're looking for is we're looking for some kind of treatment, some kind of diagnosis that perpetuates. Like if you had diabetes diagnosed 6 years ago and you're still receiving treatment for it, then technically you have current and ongoing diabetes, So, but yeah, you need it to be within the last calendar year. The more recent, the better. Okay. And Queen of Wands, did that satisfy it for you? Did I help you out with that problem? Oh, okay. Never mind. But do you understand? And I get the frustration, right? Because you're like, look, it says it right there. I have a current diagnosis. You say it was caused by service. You say it was in service. That's not what the favorable findings actually saying. They're saying that you have an incident in service, but that they don't think that your incident in service is what the current thing is. Now, how can you have a situation where the examiner, pardon the French, cover your earmuff the kids, where the examiner fucks you over. Okay? We're about an hour and 50 minutes into this. I think I can give out one swear word. Examiners will sometimes, when they write their opinion, say, "Oh, I understand that the veteran had an injury in service, but that injury wasn't really like a I wouldn't consider that to be uh, something that would cause a chronic disability. So I'm going to rewrite history, and even though you're going to get a favorable finding for having an event in service, I'm medically going to say that your event wasn't a disability making event, that it was a boo boo, that you had a scratch." Now, when the examiners do that, you don't get told that. So even though you think you were denied for missing element 3, you were actually denied for missing element 2 and 3. And when they do that, the only way to fight that is by having another doctor go in and review the evidence and say, yes, I think that that injury would have caused a chronic disability. That's why I keep saying that, is because I want you guys to do that. Because unless you get your C file, there's no way for you to tell, okay, whether or not they did that. So anytime that you do a private DBQ, you're doing like the direct theory for service connection, you want as much as you can to have that, based upon the way the veteran reported the injury, based upon the way the veteran reported the treatment for the injury at the time of the injury, after the injury. I think that based upon the circumstances, that it could have been a chronic, over 6 months chronic disability that manifested into what we're looking at today. That's what needs to happen. Okay. Yeah, and I'm sorry. I try not to swear, guys. I'm sorry, Trip. I try not to swear, but that's the only way that I can say this, is that the examiner is using their bias to rewrite history in a way that you don't know about. And it happens more than you know. And sometimes the raters will hopefully write in your favorable finding that yes, you did have a injury in service, but the examiner has overruled that and said that it wouldn't have caused a chronic disability. Or they'll put copy and paste, because here's best practice. Best practice is every single time, short form narrative or otherwise, the rater should be copying and pasting a word for word of the rating medical opinion, the medical opinion that they use to either grant or deny. I do it for both. No matter if I grant or deny, I copy and paste the medical opinion in there, so that way I can justify my actions. Not every rater does that. I don't understand why. I've taught them, I've taught everybody that I've taught, how to do it right. But you need to make sure that if you can see that stuff, you really need to look at your rating decisions, because oftentimes, if done right, they will give you the evidence to figure out how to accurately create a supplemental claim to effectively satisfy the new and relevant evidence requirements, right? Because the new and relevant evidence has to prove or disprove a matter at issue. So if you were denied for element 3, then you need some doctor saying that I have a different medical opinion on this. My opinion says that this, and this. And for the medical opinions to be probative, then they have to be more thorough than the one that was utilized to deny you. So I hope that helps, guys. Now, Mike, this is a very good question. A medical diagnosis overturning an old one is only probative if they provide a medical rationale as to why. Like, hey, look, I don't think that this veteran should have gotten a diagnosis of schizophrenia. I think that diagnosis was premature because they did not provide, there was no diagnostic testing. There was no, they didn't review anything. I can't find any kind of objective review per the DSM-5 to warrant that diagnosis. I think it was premature in nature. After thorough review, using the PHQ-9, the GAD-7, I think that the veteran's current symptoms better emulate adjustment disorder or whatever, whatever. But see, you see the difference in that, where somebody made an arbitrary statement and then no, gosh, no, hold on. Doc, what are you saying? What? That is not true. No. Well, okay, maybe that's in the past. Historically, I've sat next to somebody with a GED. You just need a GED to get the job now. Isn't that sad, Doc? Doc, isn't that sad? GED. And I'm not being an elitist or nothing like that, but I'm just saying, oh my gosh, you just need a high school diploma to get the job nowadays. It doesn't require a bachelor's degree at all. You can work your way up from the call center, right? It's insane. And this is another thing, and I'm just going to go into this today because I talked to one of my best friends yesterday, and they were going through some crap and at the VA because they accidentally made somebody that was related to 4 different people in positions of power upset. And it's a scary place to work unless your family tree is there. Okay. I bet, Doc. I bet. And that's a standard I'd like to bring back, because I'm getting sick and tired of the nepotism, right? The fact that the family tree is a 2x4 at there. Okay. Like last names, like you got 4 different 2x4s. They used to be. They're not any. Well, okay. The call center is currently remote. Okay. If you got to work at the call center, you could get up to a GS-9. That's a pretty good living wage. And that's a remote job, but not anymore. Like they don't have, like during COVID, we were remote, fully remote, and worked perfectly fine. I mean, putting out better quality than we're doing now. But now they want you to get, sit in their chair, because if not, then you're in Aruba somewhere. Just, even though they can track every single keystroke you do at any given time, they think that you're down in the Bahamas, just flagrantly, cheating the system, and it's stupid. All right, let me see here. Where are we at? Certified barn door. Is there a way to get your C file faster? No. I don't know of one. I can't say. Okay. When I say no is no, I do not know of one. There might be a faster way, but I don't know of one. I don't know of one that's factual. I mean, there might be somebody on an entertainment level YouTube channel that'll tell you to, rub cayenne pepper in your eyes and wear a yellow shirt, and yeah, you'll get it in 10 days. But I don't know of anything factual or true. I honestly don't. But I am kind of winding down here. Luna's currently chewing on a pillow. But yeah, what do we want to talk about now? That's not, okay, so IBS for a Gulf War veteran is a quasi-presumptive under 38 CFR 3.317. Muck me. There is what is known as a Gulf War Gen Med opinion, and it basically says, is the IBS medically explained? Okay. And if it is, like if your IBS is due to something like, I had a bowel resection, okay, then you cannot get that granted. You cannot get that granted unless you, you can't get it granted if the cause is known. It's like medically unexplained. It's presumptive under medically unexplained. We have no clue why. Certified barn door, hips are rated via range of motion primarily, or painful motion. Yes. But IBS, there should be no less likely than not, unless it's like they think that it's medically explained by something else. No, Lewis, that is not normal. 18 months is not a normal thing for a higher level review. That is weird. My Kindle, that is a very interesting take on that. Do you want my take on that? Do you want to know why I think that they killed remote work? Some of you might not like my answer, but if you would like my answer, you're more than welcome to ask me for my answer on that. Oh, okay, answer it. Okay, okay. Why am I ignoring your question? Pray for that. Okay. I'll answer this question, then pray for that. Can you resubmit your question and I'll just have it. I'll answer it. I'm sorry. I skip things because whenever I bounce back and forth, I mean it's like ADHD. Okay. Why did they kill remote work? Oh, because how do you make people leave a job? You make it painful. So you start messing with them. You make it to where they work remotely. The numbers say that they've done an outstanding job working remotely, but you want to make it painful. So you make everybody come in. You make people that you hired in different states come to your state to have to work there or else they have to leave. You don't have to riff anybody if you make it so uncomfortable to work there that they don't want to work there. Okay? So if you want to make people uncomfortable, then you take away their bargaining unit stuff. You make it to where they can't bargaining unit, right? You take away that so they can't fight back whenever people start doing unreasonable things. Then what you do is to make things even more uncomfortable, you make it to where you can fire managers at any given point in time, right? You take away their ability for any kind of bargaining unit, anything. You make it to where it is so easy to fire a manager that they're hysterically crazy to try to keep their job, right? Then you fire half the regional directors of all the ROs, you fire half of them, or I should say, you help them to voluntarily resign. Then, because this happened, all of this happened, okay? Um, and I'll get to okay, I'm on the question, so I'll get to it. Actually, I will highlight your question, but I will finish answering this one. So they fired half of the regional office directors to send a message to all leadership. So then you have all leadership that are like, we must get numbers. We must get numbers. We've got to get numbers. We've got to prove that we're good at our job. We've got to prove it or else they'll fire us. So then you have all these managers behaving in draconianly bad ways, right? They don't want to look bad because the moment that the eye of Sauron is on them, they don't have their job anymore. Now, okay, there's a part of me that goes, look, I understand this, right? I'm not against getting people in the jobs that are not there to just suck on the teat of the government, right? Like the best people should be in the best jobs. So in theory, I can understand why it's like, hey, look, we need to put pressure on these people because we want only the people here that need to be here. The problem with that is that's not what happened. You had people that are related to other people protecting their families and sacrificing the people that aren't related to other people, regardless of how good they are at their job. It made all the bad people circle the wagons around themselves. You had people that had been working remotely for years, right? Which I'm fine with coming into the office if you can. Like if you physically can. Some of us have reasonable accommodations that they don't want to honor. And that's another thing. They started picking away at the reasonable accommodations for people that have legitimate illnesses that they shouldn't go into the office for. And I mean, it frustrates me. Okay. It frustrates me beyond all recognition because once again, the regional office, the managers, everybody else is forgetting about the reason why they're there. It's for putting on a quality product that is fair, balanced, reasonable, matches the reality of the circumstances, and that there is a veteran attached to every single claim. And that's the problem, is that all this nonsense, the removing remote work was a means to an end. And the end was, we've got to cut 83,000 people, and they will get there, my friends. That is the goal. That is the number. Like, Doug Collins can say whatever he wants, but he's still getting rid of people. He's still cutting positions to try to get to a fantasy number that doesn't make sense. Okay. Now, you can like Doug Collins. I want to like Doug Collins, but he does things that just weirds me out. Because I think that there's no facts being used to justify why 83,000 people need to be cut. I've never understood, like, look, if my leg, if my chair has 4 legs, that's one too many. I need 3-legged chair. I need a 3-legged chair, not a stool, a chair with 3 legs in a weird position. And that's what it's better. It's better. 3 legs are better. 2 legs are even better. I need a 2-legged chair. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if you want to say science and facts, like, hey, look, this regional office or this healthcare center right here is underperforming. They've got currently 2 staff to every veteran, or whatever metric that they're going to use. Like, pull out some science out your 4th point of contact on that. Okay. That's my problem with it. Okay. So I have not looked at any TDIU. Yes. Yes, it does. It does. The 20-year rule does apply to TDIU. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So here's the question. Pray for the USA. Okay. Do you believe that the government will take our compensation due to the deficit and all the people talking poorly about VA disability? Okay. I don't have any authority to answer this question, but if you're asking my opinion, my uneducated opinion on the topic, the opinion that is equal to Lieutenant Dan in the fact that I criminally do not have any say in the matter. I don't think so. Because there's legal protections. There's not enough people in Congress that feel this way to actually enact any kind of change in that respect. Now, that being said, do I think that they can change the M21-1 to make it harder for veterans in the future to get certain disabilities without having to take it before Congress? Yes. And they've already done it once this year. They have changed how Vietnam veterans, for the most part, they've taken away the ability for conditions like Parkinson's disease, ALS, for the combination of multiple conditions under the umbrella of a disease process, like diabetes. You used to be able to combine them all together, and if all of them combined equaled 100%, then you could grant SMC S1, statutory housebound. Relatively recently, I think in June, they took that away. I did a video on it, and I don't like it, because if it's good for this veteran over here that got it service connected 5 years ago, then it should be good enough for the veteran that happens in the future, right? Like, everybody should have the same entitlement to the same benefits throughout time. Okay. And the notion that deficit, okay, this notion, I will disagree with the notion that we have to take something away to grant something new. I don't care. Every single veteran at 100% service connected should be factored into their equation. That's what the budget should be for, is every single veteran at 100%. Right? The way the government budgets things is very weird. Okay? When they budget for a employee, okay, they don't budget for, oh, you're a GS9, step 1. Here's your budget. That's not the way they budget. They budget for, like a rater, the VA gets paid for a GS12 step 10. That's what the budget gets for. That's what the VA gets paid for. Now, they might only pay that rater a GS9 step 1. but they get the money allocated to them for that. And I think that there is actually a need for the VA to budget for as if every single veteran was at 100%. And then the money that doesn't get used gets saved away in a budgetary account that just adds up over time. That's me. I don't know. They did. They changed ALS for veterans. Yes, David. It's automatically 100%, but what I'm talking about is SMCS1, special monthly compensation, housebound status for it. Is that you'd have to be a natural 100% under ALS, but ALS, like Parkinson's, it can have secondaries to it. And if you're not 100% for AL, like it's a thing. But anyway, so that's my little 2 cents on the topic. But once again, I'm just a peon guy. I'm just a normal dude that puts my pants on the same way everybody else does. But my personal opinion is just my personal opinion. I don't have any insider information into anything. But I think that, because that's how everything works, is they pay to the maximum amount. You don't get paid that maximum amount. You get paid whatever you got paid contractually when you got hired on, but they have to budget for your maximum pay. No, but RVSRs kind of are. Is that I'm not special, okay? I'm not a special person. I make mistakes. I'm a flawed human being. I have the privilege and the honor to do a job that I should take reverence in. Everybody should take reverence in. The VSR should, the authorizer should, the rater should. Everybody is here for a specific purpose. It's when people stop thinking like that you see what happens with the California rater that started getting greedy and started charging people for outcomes and doing illegal things. Or you have it to where the authorizer dude out of Philadelphia started doing some random stuff, not at the behest of the veteran. This is my real voice, Pray. Yeah, this is my real voice. Why? Is there something wrong with my voice? Pray? Is there something wrong with my voice? I'm waiting on this one. I want to know why people think my voice is bad. And look, it used to be a position of honor, and it used to be something that people honestly it was an honorary position. Yeah, I'll admit that. Yeah. But oops, hold on. No, it is my real voice. I can just do impersonations, Sit in here, come on, do it, I don't know. But it is my real voice. But it's a therapist's voice. I got told the other day that I have a voice like a teacher. It's actually like a therapist voice, right? And it's kind of like that's where the cadence comes from and stuff. So, I think I don't know if there was ever a track to be on, but I think it did get us off track. But that's kind of what the live streams are for. The live streams are for you guys to take me where you want to take me. Like you just want to pick my brain about some stuff, we can talk about some stuff. And yeah, that's true. The VA cannot force you to take any medication. But I'll also say that the VA cannot, like, what pisses me off more is that the VA does not give us the option to take the same medication that the civilians get to have. It annoys me. It hurts the throat to do Arnold a little bit sometimes. I can sit here and I can talk to you about Raider HQ after dark. He's a good man. Listen, subscribe, do the things, do the YouTube things. Come on. And is Salty here? Oh, ooh. Hey, Salty. And if you haven't, I'm going to make a recommendation. You guys need to go over to the Salty Old Marine channel, the Salty Marine channel, and the Salty Old Marine channel, and you need to like and subscribe them and watch them if you want to. You don't have to watch anybody. You don't have to watch me. But I watch the Salty Old Marine. I watch the Salty Marine. I enjoy their channels. Not every channel has to be like mine, guys. I just need you to understand that. But I like them both. So we kind of started around the same time. Salty has been doing the Salty Old Marine has been doing some awesome work on that VSO coverage lately. Those videos are chef's kiss. I don't know that much about it in order to have an opinion on it. So I really like the amount of detail and the amount of, stick-to-itness you've done on these VSO things, because anything that you can do to tighten up your claim submission and make it to where you have the highest likelihood of success, I'm all for. So I really love that video series that you did. I do. So, and nobody can tell me otherwise. I appreciate it. And when is the Salty Old Marine going to start doing live streams? Huh? Where's that live stream? I do live streams. Salty Old Marine, I like your setup. You should be doing some live streams. I trust me on this. I'd love to hear from you. I mean, I just kind of off the cuff do everything. Hold on. I mean, if you watch some of my videos, and I hate to be like that, Prade, but if you watch some of my videos, you will get my interpretation on that subject. Now, do I respect the First Amendment and people's opinion to say whatever they want? Yes. As long as they're not hurting somebody or lying or being completely fictitious. If somebody wants to explain to the entire world that they don't know what they're talking about, then God bless the Washington Post. If they want to tell us that they have no functional understanding about how the VA process works to the point that they just think that everything's a criminality, sure, they can have that opinion. And I respect their right to be wrong and will defend it with my life. Anybody can be an idiot. If you're just a more public idiot, then that's fine. The Washington Post said things that were untrue. The thing that matters to me more about that than the Washington Post saying it is the fact that Papa Bear Doug Collins didn't come to our defense. That's what really hurt my feelings about that. Washington Post can be wrong all day long. But where was Papa Bear? Where was he? I mean, that man had to have power and a camera near him at some point in time during when the Washington Post put out their first 5 hit pieces on us. Because I am a veteran. Some of you don't know that, but I am a veteran. I'm not looking at the chat. But I don't like the fact that Doug Collins didn't come to our defense. Like, to me, that's the evidence of evidence right there. But when somebody said something about those numbers, we're doing 70,000 claims. Okay. Sir, nobody cares about how quickly we're doing claims. If you went and looked at Philadelphia cared about doing claims real quick, and they're regretting that decision. At least one of them is. Defend the integrity of the veteran community. It's not hard, Doug Collins. You have one job. And don't call me your veteran either. Like, if you want to piss me straight off, don't call me your veteran and then just be quiet whenever somebody says some crap about us. Did he eventually respond to it? I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it with the fluster and the bravado that came with the other thing. How dare you talk about our numbers? That man had genuine tears. He had genuine tears when he started talking about the numbers. But yeah, no, I don't know with him. I'm going to do a video about him probably tomorrow, where I have no clue where he's going. I mean, he hasn't said one thing about what he wants to do. I mean, he said that he doesn't want internal, or what do they call it? Internal designers or something like that working at the VA, that there's 80,000 of them that need to quit or something. I don't know. I have looked at people that have no idea what they're doing. And I'm looking at that right now with Doug Collins. He has no clue what he's doing. except for just scaring the crap out of a whole bunch of employees. He's not really doing much. I mean, and you can. Did he stand up for veterans? Because I didn't hear it. And if I'm wrong on that, that's fine. Did he? Because okay, let me challenge you on this. If he was really, 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 really serious about standing up for veterans, shouldn't he have been on that congressional panel? Shouldn't he have been clawing his way onto that congressional panel? I mean, I could have done without Lieutenant Gade's comments all day long. Where was he on that panel? I mean, where was he? Where was he on that panel? Where the Washington Post was saying all these horrible things, and then we had the OIG. Where was the director of the VA? I mean, if look, you couldn't. I would have pulled up a stool next to somebody. Like, we don't have enough chairs. Okay, I'll stand then. I'll stand in the back as moral support. Nope, you ain't gonna say that about my veterans type thing. Well, no, it was about fraud. It was about fraud, and that's what got me. Is that I wanted like it would have comforted me. It would have put some of my concerns about Doug Collins to bed if Doug Collins was there at the Lieutenant Gade thing, because I would have loved to have had Doug Collins rip Lieutenant Gade's face off figuratively and scream at him for how wrong he was. I would have hoped for that. I would have loved that. I would have loved to seen Doug Collins hurt face about all the things that Lieutenant Gade said, that Lieutenant Dan said. Are you Lieutenant Colonel Gade? God, you better not be Lieutenant Colonel Gade. Don't joke with me, because it would sour my entire well-being. But I can have a good conversation. Are you Lieutenant Gade? Oh, Lieutenant Dan, you're so pretty. You know what, sir? If you are, and you know what, I'll entertain it. Look, we're going into overtime, my friends, because no, like, I can have a good conversation with somebody. Like, I think that Lieutenant Gade's conversations, like, and I'll rehash this. I think Lieutenant Gade's conversations, he had me up until the point, like when he was talking about the education thing, I'm like, okay, I can get behind that. I can totally get behind the job thing for discharging veterans. I'm like, that, you know what, that makes sense. That's something that the average person, that 2 + 2 = 4. And that makes sense, right? Well, even if you're not you're going to get the Lieutenant Dan answer on this one, because I have strong feelings about Lieutenant Dan. And I think that, if Lieutenant Dan actually just stuck to that narrative, he would have garnered himself a lot of support among the veteran community. If he would have just kept it to, look, we need to empower veterans who are discharging from the military, so that way they don't become disability focused. The part where Lieutenant Dan fell down the stairs and hit his fucking head was when he started talking about shit that his PhD cannot cash the checks for. Lieutenant Dan, unfortunately, has less education required to make any kind of informed decision on anything he was talking about beyond that, right? Because a PhD is not a doctor. I have more medical credentials than Lieutenant Dan does. I would have a better informed opinion about things than Lieutenant Dan did. And that's sad, because I should not be talking in front of Congress, and I would have more informed opinion than Lieutenant Dan to talk at Congress. He had no business being there, other than to basically say, I stayed at a Holiday Inn and I think things are cool. I mean, it's just very disappointing. I'm disappointed in whoever the hell invited him there, because, and I don't think that I get the talking points. Okay. I get the virtue signaling talking points, right? And I can agree to disagree with Lieutenant Dan. I can say that Lieutenant Dan, I think, believes all of the nonsense that happened to him. I also believe that Lieutenant Dan has a TBI that's untreated. Just my own personal opinion. I think that Lieutenant Dan has the classic symptoms, and I think that Lieutenant Dan needs to, stay within his wheelhouse. If he wants to talk about that, like that's a betterment thing whenever we talk about how, you know, getting a job. The unfortunate thing though with Lieutenant Dan is that Lieutenant Dan's evidence that I guess I'm going to use that term loosely. That Lieutenant Dan's evidence on the topic about how veterans become sicker because of so and so is based upon the fundamental fact of he says that every veteran, veterans need jobs, not disability. Okay, but how many veterans have jobs that also have disabilities? I mean, he couldn't even answer that. Can't even figure it out. I mean, it's very sad. And the fact that Congress entertained that level, like he was a high schooler that forgot to do his final project for a class and winged it. I mean, and we're supposed to take that seriously? Like that's the level that Congress said, "Oh yeah, tell us more." And I was like, "Man, that is just." And I don't mean anything like even if you are Lieutenant Dan, I'm not attacking you as a person. I'm just saying that you didn't do your homework. You basically could have chat GPT'd your way harder into that conversation, right? Because and look, yeah, no, like if this is Lieutenant Dan, I'm the only one that gets to be mean to Lieutenant Dan, okay? Because I'll be honest with you, Lieutenant Dan could have come into the conversation and spoke about homeless veteran recidivism rates associated with severe mental illness and how the action of giving homeless veterans that are severely mentally ill more money incentivizes them to stay homeless. Had Lieutenant Dan done 10 minutes worth of research, that particular factoid would have been persuasive in their argument. And that's a fact. Like, that's a fact. But, and I'm feeding the troll. I'm the only one that's going to feed the troll. So leave him alone. Right. And veterans should be working, but where's the evidence that they're not? Right? Like that's the problem. Like if you think about Lieutenant Dan's position, and if you're just trolling to be, if you're just trolling to troll, that's fine. I'm not going to I'm not going to ban anybody from the channel or anything like that for having a disagreement of opinion, right? It's just the fact that the truth of the matter is Lieutenant Dan didn't do his homework. He can't get beyond that. He's not a researcher. He didn't do the most fundamental level of research needed to be an informed person on the topic. Like, why do I have a more informed position than, say, Lieutenant Dan? Well, because I know the one vulnerability like the one factoid that he could have used to leverage some kind of validity in his position, he didn't use. It's as simple as that. I mean, it's not rocket science. We're not putting we're not putting anybody on the moon today, you know. And there's also the problem with Lieutenant Dan projecting his own personal experiences on everybody else. Countertransference. He is projecting countertransference upon other people's circumstances. Circumstances that he does not informed about, you know? And with all due respect, right? If you have somebody that has so much personal bias, right? So much concrete thinking on a topic that they refuse to even understand that they are a veteran themselves, that they refuse to identify as a veteran, it's not a double blind study then, Haas. You would be disqualified from having an opinion on the topic because you can't be neutral. That's the thing. And Lieutenant Dan is dangerous, not because of what he thinks, because unfortunately, Lieutenant Dan, and I'm sorry if you are Lieutenant Dan, right? Like, you have managed single handedly to piss off the entire veteran community. And that would just be sad. Like, you come in there and you prove that you don't know what you're talking about, and then you upset everybody. You're like the bad guy. You're like the bad villain in a movie, like, and not because the moral high ground thing kind of weirded me out. Like, there's so much that weirded me out. Like, I'm not a veteran. I don't see myself as a veteran, which is fine. You're excommunicade. You don't have to be a veteran. But don't come in and talk about other veterans then. That's not your community anymore. You don't get to be the community. Well, okay. But Lieutenant Dan, um, this is the part that I'm just gonna point out to you that you're right. It's almost as if it's a disability program meant to compensate veterans for disability. Yes, you are not wrong. Do not order the cake if you don't want the cake. That's exactly what the program is. It's a system meant to give compensation and benefits to disabled veterans. And I'll be clear with you, it's not determined by the veteran, it's determined by the medical providers. The veteran's not at fault here, man. And I mean, I'm fine with it. Like, look, even if it's not Lieutenant Dan, the points are still valid. Okay. The points are still valid. Like, this person has their opinion, same as Lieutenant Dan does. They believe that the system is broken. Okay, you provided no way to fix it other than to go get a job. How many veterans commit suicide related to job-related incidents? Now, if you cared about the problem, Lieutenant Dan, then that would factor into your equation, but it never did. Right? So it's hard to take somebody seriously, even if you're not the real Lieutenant Dan. But if you are the real Lieutenant Dan, it's hard to take you seriously because you didn't do the work. You didn't put in the effort. Somebody paid you to go to Congress. Somebody wrote a speech for you, because I can tell that they did, because you didn't have the same opinion whenever the Civ Div and Jason interviewed you. You did on the jobs portion, but not anywhere else. You don't even remember what you said, which you're pretty, Lieutenant Dan's a pretty passionate person about their opinions. So if it's not their opinion and they were kind of paid to write it or paid to read it, then I can kind of understand that. But so I don't know. Now, Lieutenant Dan, if that is you, you feel free to come after me if you want to. You can feel free to me. And I don't think it is Lieutenant Dan at this point in time, because it's kind of now they're invoking Project 2025, which I just recently figured that out. But either way, sure you did. I mean, the guy behind the 7-Eleven screaming at the dumpster probably wrote their own facts too. It doesn't make them facts, right? Truth makes things facts. And sadly, Lieutenant Dan didn't have any actual facts. There's supposition. There's a whole bunch of confirmation bias. There's a whole bunch of things that I believe that they believe, but it doesn't make them true beyond the tip of that person's nose. And that's the problem with Lieutenant Dan, is that he actually believes it. Some of it, at least. But it doesn't go beyond the tip of his nose. He can't generalize his experiences. I mean, I didn't have a cush little 6-figure job at the White House after I got out. I mean, who got that? No. I mean, there has to be some give and take in Lieutenant Dan's philosophy, but he can't see beyond his own nose. So unfortunately, he'll never, like, the reason why he gets to believe the way he gets to believe is because he's had the silver spoon not every one of us got. I mean, I don't know. And, I'm sorry, like the thing, I mean, okay, facts based upon studies. What is the most recent year of the fact study that you used? Let's play this game. Let's play how actual clinicians who have done research studies before, when they review validity in a study, is the study 2 years old? Is the study 5 years old, 10 years old? How much has the actual validity of the statements made in the study changed since the time the study was done? When's the most recent thing? When's the most recent thing? What study? Troll or no troll, I don't think even Lieutenant Dan could answer that. Quote me a 2007 study. Yeah. Quote me back, prohibition study. Quote me something. Because that's a double-edged sword, sir. Because if you quote me an old study, then that means two things. Number one, it's based upon old evidence, which might not be valid in the current state of affairs. Number two, the fact that you can only quote an old study means that there are no new studies because the problem is not a problem worthy of study. Okay? There's a reason why Lieutenant Dan should never fucking talk to me. And that's because the Civ Div and Jason are nice. But I will logic you into the ground. Nicely. With respect. Lovingly. Put you into the ground. Figuratively. Because it takes about 2 seconds to just tear apart the logic of what was said. Now, once again, I will say the Lieutenant Dan, the real Lieutenant Dan, I don't disagree with their statement about getting jobs, helping transitioning vets with getting employment. I believe in that. I actually do. So there is some common ground there that could be, potentially for the real Lieutenant Dan. What debate, Dan? See, that's the problem. There's nothing to debate here. And if you actually knew anything, you wouldn't debate me. Because I don't have to say anything. You have to prove everything. And that's not a good position to be in. Because I'm going to tear apart every single little thing that you say. Every single word that you choose will be scrutinized in real time. You wouldn't want that, Danny. I'm just being honest with you. You wouldn't really care for that. Because I would make it exclusively about the words you chose, how you said things, what you said, where you said it. Like you'd have to do your PhD all over again to prepare for that debate. And it wouldn't be in whatever PE teacher degree you have either. You'd have to actually bring a real degree to the table. I'm not being dismissive towards that, but I'm just saying you're underqualified. I'm not trying to be an elitist or anything like that, but it would be something. And I'm not showing off for everybody. I'm just honestly telling you. Like I did 2 seconds worth of work there. And it was more than what Lieutenant Dan did in his entire presentation. Now, once again, I will say that I can meet common ground with the vocational aspect of it, the logistics of vocationally transitioning veterans to lower the threshold possibility of them having temporary disabilities turned into permanent disabilities. Is there value added clinically there? Well, as a clinician, yes, there is. Lieutenant Dan cannot have that same opinion because Lieutenant Dan is not a clinician. Lieutenant Dan is an administrative person who has personal experience. No, 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 no. So you misunderstand. You're deserve. That's a fact. Do they legally deserve the payments? Yes. Can they be healed? Yes. That's part of the process, Dan. See, that's the problem here. You make these weird ass statements that don't that you already know the answer to that. Yes, some of these things can be healed. Can a heart valve replacement happen? Yes, yes it can. Can somebody, can somebody have diabetes to where their A1C goes down and their symptoms get better? Yes. Can somebody get a spinal surgery to where their radiculopathy gets better? Yes. And if you were in the medical field, I might not have to describe this to you. I don't think you're in your element. Now, I know you wrote a book or something, at least the Lieutenant Dan that's the real Lieutenant Dan did. Stick to that. Okay? You should probably stick to that. You should probably stick to getting your six-figure job at the White House and having all the silver spoon stuff. I'm not a silver spoon kind of guy, so I don't know anything about the silver spoon stuff, but that's what I would stick to, right? Because when it comes to the rest of this stuff, the fact that you read something somewhere and you stayed at a Holiday Inn, the fact that that happened and that you can read, okay, that's cool. We can all read. It's not special. You're not special. Nobody's special. You read a study one time. Cool. I've read a few myself. I don't know what to do with you because you're not gonna change my mind about this, right? And of a lot of different people, I'm more passionate about it. I think this ain't the one you want, Haas. So I think that you need to. I don't want a live stream debate with you. Why do I want to wipe the floor with you? What will you say to me? The audacity that you think you can say anything that would change my perspective on this, my life's work of helping injured people, to tell me somehow, in your uneducated opinion, that people can get better. You know what, Dan? Walk it off. Grow your leg back. You do whatever you need to do, Haas. Because I'm not nice. All right? I can hide behind my cartoon all day long. Yeah, you're right. I can. And you're still going to be wrong. You're not going to play to my emotions. You're not going to say some satirical thing that'll get under my skin. Of the two of us here, I'm better at it. Okay? Because you're already changing up the way that you're speaking. You're already frustrated. No, I mean, look, I would love, you know what? How about this? How about this, Lieutenant Dan? Why don't I watch your congressional testimony and I'll get all the teaching I need? All those studies you cited, maybe I'll watch the Civ Div and Jason's video where you cited all those studies, where you had two separate chances to tell your side of the story and failed miserably. Two YouTubers already wiped the floor with you. I don't think 3 is going to be your lucky number, boss. So, I mean, like, yeah, mention me. To who? To what? What are you going to do? Like, why are you so upset? What's wrong with you? All these veterans, these sick veterans. If you cared, you'd have alternatives for things. You came to a meeting, a congressional meeting with no alternatives, no plan. You didn't think this out beyond one step, and that is take away the benefits. That's the only step you figured out. You don't even have a plan. And you're going to come at me. That is so weird. I mean, look, man, if you are the real guy, you should probably like get some therapy. And I'm not trying to dig at anybody about therapy. I mean it seriously. Talk to somebody, talk to a confidant, talk to a friend. These are hard times. We're going into Christmas, right? And I understand that anybody, veteran, non-veteran, these are tough times. So if you're having a tough time, pray, like, make sure that you get some help, man. Okay? Like, I mean it. Even if you're not the real Lieutenant Dan and you're playing this farce, then that's even worse. But if you are the real Lieutenant Dan, yeah, you shouldn't probably come on here anymore because I'm just going to make fun of you. Okay? Make fun of your name, your position, like everything. I have zero respect for Lieutenant Dan. Anybody that says they don't want to be a veteran anymore, then you're excommunicade. You don't have to be. You can go say that you're a jujitsu one-legged expert. I don't care. I honestly don't care. You can fall down all the stairs for all I care. I mean, I don't like Lieutenant Dan. Not as a person, but just their position. Right? Like, I mean, take away from, like, do you know how much suicide would happen if you took everybody, like, if the fantasy were to become reality? Number one, where are the jobs coming from? But let's say that all the jobs come from somewhere. The federal government, everybody gets a job in the White House. It's six-figure jobs, right? Everybody does. Cool. Who's paying for it? I didn't think about that. Okay, it's fine. But what's going to happen when all the money goes away? Like, well, what metric do you have? What study shows that they'd get better? What's the ratio? What's the percentage? What's the sample size of the study? How long ago did it happen? What were the demographics of it? You know, like, I'll listen to science, but I mean, well, no, I mean it. Like, you can fall down all the stairs. There are people in my life that if I saw them choking to death, I might take my time to go call 911. And I don't dislike Dan to that level, but I dislike Dan as well, not as a person. No, I think me and the real Lieutenant Dan could probably have a good conversation as long as we kept it to a certain few things, like the getting jobs and the transition. I will admit that the transition from service to civilian life is horrible. And that I would listen to anybody on that topic if they were saying that we could do better, right? So I think that there's common ground there. Christianity, I mean, fair enough. Oh, for fuck's sake. Look, I don't think anybody's next. I really don't think that this is the real Lieutenant Dan. I think we've all I think whoever this person is, cool. You got your fun. You got to have, you got to get us. I don't think that we need, yeah. All right, hold on here. We'll stop talking about him for a second. I feel bad. Like, if you're not the real Lieutenant Dan, then it is time, sir. I mean this with all due respect. It is time to reach out to your friends, to your family, connect with them, touch some grass. And if you are the real Lieutenant Dan, touch some grass anyway. Coming onto people's channels when they're having a live stream, talking nonsense. I mean, good God. I don't know. I don't care if it's you. See, that's the funny thing about it. Lieutenant Dan themselves is not special. Like, you want to go on, you want to tell everybody how much you don't know about something? Fair enough. Godspeed. You want to be a Blue Falcon guy? And I don't mean that as in like we're trying to get one over on anything, but you just want to take away from other veterans because you feel like you're better than other veterans? Not cool. That's why you can fall down all the stairs. Is because you don't care. You believe that the means justify, that the end justifies the means. Because you don't believe something. And look, I can have an equally strong opinion the opposite way. I don't believe Lieutenant Dan was ever in the military. I can believe something too. I don't believe that Lieutenant Dan should have been in the military. Because he obviously has lost his military bearing. He has lost what a leader should be, looking out for those below him. And let's be honest, Lieutenant Dan, the real Lieutenant Dan, has had privilege beyond compare. I mean, the mountain has been brought to Lieutenant Dan and his privilege. It's like a rich person coming out here saying that, homeless people shouldn't have access to food stamps or something like that. It's like it is a bold move, Cotton. It is a bold move for the real Lieutenant Dan and for the fake Lieutenant Dan. I did get my first troll, yes. But I'm telling you, fake Lieutenant Dan, real Lieutenant Dan, they don't want it. Not with me. I'm too quick-witted. I will hammer them into the ground. But let me look here. Get me all upset. I don't like Lieutenant Dan. It's too late for Blue Falcons. Let me look here. I just want to look at somebody before I go here. I want to look at some of these messages that were put out. How are you doing? File for goal 4 presumptive today. I got a CUNE exam appointment, clear and unmistakable exam appointment, medical records, only good, bad, or what? Too hard to tell. So it's too hard to tell based upon the evidence. So we're done with Lieutenant Dan. Lieutenant Dan, you take a while here. You think about the things you want to do, but I'm not talking to you anymore. Steven? Actually, you know what, Lieutenant Dan? Why don't you subscribe? Subscribe to the channel. I'll talk to you then. I don't know why. I think it'd be funny if you put money towards it. Make him pay. Thank you, Stephen, for becoming a member. MEP showed allergies, hay fever, flat feet, no ratings. Filed nexus for aggravation, claiming migraines and OSA secondary. Mental health diagnosis, MDD to unrelated condition. So anytime that they're aggravation, they can only be granted via aggravation. So like the hay fever, the flat feet, the allergies. So those would have to be service connected for under the aggravation 38 CFR 3.306 theory. Migraines and OSA secondary to mental health has nothing to do with those two things. So I'm weirded out where the connection happens here. Mental health would have to be, so that's going to be element 3 is the reason for denial. So you'll want to actually probably get a different doctor to weigh in on, if you have the evidence to support it, weigh in on a different cause potentially. W.E. Wilson, got an ACE exam scheduled today. Is that good, bad, or indifferent? It doesn't. ACE exams are required by law, by MDEO contract. So the VSC has to offer ACE exams in situations where the condition itself is not exempted. Okay, so like mental health conditions, SHAW, separation health assessments, go for gen meds, and whatnot. So ACE exams are just part of the normal process. Please keep the info coming. There is a lot of info for those who listen carefully. Have you considered shorts with a quick one topic? Old Nuke, I have considered it, but the problem is that if I shorten the topic, then I lose the ability to give caveats, and then it seems like the shortened topics are absolute truth, and they can't be. That's why a lot of the videos are longer, is because they can't be an absolute truth just because of the way the M21-1 is written and the way the 38 CFR is written. So, yeah. And I'm not going to waste my... Look, if anything, I hope Lieutenant Dan watches this video and sees what kind of just nonsense they'd be into. But I don't know. I just, I have a special spot for Lieutenant Dan, and I dread the thought of him coming in and talking to me. Not because I'm scared of him or anything like that, but just because I'm afraid I would lose my bearing. And tell him how I really feel. Mostly in just the fact of how irresponsible like my children could have done a better job explaining the current circumstances and the current circumstances of the veteran community. My children could have done a better job. And that's why I'm disappointed, is because that tool shed got to sit in front of Congress and just make up weird stuff about one time that they stayed at a Holiday Inn. And that somehow that makes congressional news. And that's why it's so dangerous, is because the Washington Post is just a news thing, right? Getting in front of Congress and getting to say gibberish is the true danger of the two. If he's not the real guy, then we all just lost your valuable time. Well, guess what? We're going to have a live stream on Christmas, so we get to have more valuable time. And it looks like we have, and I forgot, actually. Can somebody please tell me who agreed to do live stream workups in, who is that? Hey, GC Jarhead, can you please tell me who it was? It was like first, I can't remember who it was. Who said that they were going to do, I mean, I can probably look at it later. I just wanted to write their name down. I'll look it up later. But if you're doing the Excel spreadsheet for me for the missed questions, could you please email it to me? Look, U.S. Army grant. I didn't. The jokes write themselves. First John. Yeah, it was First John. First John. So First John, if you can just email me at raider.hq@gmail.com. And Lieutenant Dan, if you're still watching, don't email me at anything. It's probably true. His fatty liver was denied. And also, thank you guys for all the support for the channel. Thank you, Lieutenant Dan, for all the support for the channel. You kept me on here for another hour. Zero stroma granted, but no dental coverage allowed. What would I even claim secondary to general dental care? I don't know. Because dental care is really, really, really challenging to get service connected until you're like 100%, and then it's limited even in that. So I don't have anything yeah, it's just weird. But so I don't know what you would claim secondary to that, other than if it's painful, maybe depression, or if it's discomfort, maybe depression or anxiety. Like if you have to, I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna be honest with you, I've never heard of that before. I mean, like Lieutenant Dan coming in here tonight, fake or real, like that. Whenever I make that noise of, it's not the way it works. No, gosh, no, I'm so smart. I've done all my own research. My mommy paid for it and everything. Oh God. I can be a child whenever I want to be. I don't take myself so serious. So it's just dry mouth, salivary glands. I don't know what would be able to, thrush maybe might be another thing that could potentially. Yeah. Yeah, it's because it has to do with the salivary glands. So, I don't know what would be secondary to it. Like you'd have to come with a lot of medical, yeah, like little Luna. That's Luna right there. So you'd have to come, like something would have to be medically secondary to it. And I can't even propose anything. Yeah, I don't know. But if look, man, that was still hilarious that somebody would take up my time. Would you recommend submitting personal statements on a BDD for things that are already diagnosed in medical? It doesn't matter. Okay, the way BDDs work is diagnosis on DBQ equals grant. You have to just, like for BDDs, they work differently than most claims because all you have to do is get diagnosed on your DBQ and it gets granted, unless they say it's like acute, transitory, or if it was aggravated, like a pre-existing condition, then that requires a medical opinion. Raters just go through and they look at the DBQs. Oh, is it on there? Okay, it is. And then they just fill it in and grant. Like if there's a diagnosis, like the worst thing you can see on a DBQ for a BDD claim is no current disability. Checked. Like that's the worst thing. But look at it, it's coming right at me. I'm Lieutenant Dan. I'm a big boy, and you guys need to respect me. I did a study one time, stayed at a Holiday Inn. I swear. Like, and it's not that I'm mad at him. I need to say this. I'm not mad at Lieutenant Dan because I mean it whenever I say people can have bad opinions about things. And I can even have friends that have bad opinions about things. It doesn't make me not like them. The thing that I don't like about Lieutenant Dan is that he didn't get there because he deserved to be there. He didn't get to sit in front of Congress because he earned the spot. He didn't get to sit in front of Congress because he had something valid to say other than the, transitionary information. Like that was very valid. Like that's a point that anybody could make. My child could make that point. But the problem with the Lieutenant Dan situation is his disdain for veterans and then wanting to air quote advocate for them. Right? Like you can't hate veterans that much to the point that you don't want to be one and then say you're a good faith actor on the behalf of every single veteran. I mean, it's blatantly wrong. Like, like we can all tell, you're not fooling anybody. But anyway, guys, we're at 3 hours. So tonight's been the longest one that I've done before. So anyway, if you haven't already done so, like and subscribe to the videos, this if you want to. Go over to the Salty Marine and the Salty Old Marine. Both of them have really great channels. Go give them a like, a watch. Give them a chance. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but just give them a chance. I like their videos. I comment on both their videos. I watch all their videos because for me, it matters more that people like the intention of somebody matters more to me than anything else. That's why I dislike Lieutenant Dan is because his intentions are, he's not a good faith actor versus me, not me versus, the Salty Marines, both of them, the Salty Old Marine and the Salty Marine, they have great intentions and I will give anybody a chance if they have great intentions. Luna is hungry. Well, anyway, guys, I've got to get going, and I will see you on Christmas Day at some point in time. I will be putting out a kind of a preemptive live stream on Christmas Day. I hope Lieutenant Dan once again falls down all the stairs, figuratively. I wish nothing bad on the guy. I don't wish anything bad for him. I hope he hits his head harder and it changes his mind about some things. This is my only thing, But then again, I can be a bad person sometimes. But anyway, Merry Christmas to everybody. I'll talk to you all later. And then First John, I'll look for your email, and then we'll try to work on some more, answering unanswered questions in live streams. I do not want to have to answer all the missed questions in this one, though. It's going to be a lot. It has been a very interesting night, and I hope that wasn't Lieutenant Dan, because it would just disappoint me how sad it would be for somebody like him to troll my little live stream in order to garner some kind of support. Fight me, bro! You better fight me! I'm right, darn it! I'm right. Anyway, that's about all me and the dogs got for you tonight. Raider out.